And what is happening in San Diego? Welcome to the finally Friday edition of Gwynn and Chris. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby on San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3. The Fan, Tony and Skraby in the friendly confines of the Odyssey Palace Studios. I continue out on the road. It's another Chamber of Commerce Day, guys, in Bakersfield,
California. And for all of those who wish you could be me, getting to travel to all these exotic locations, next week, Tony and Matt, I get to go to Cancun. So that will be pretty cool.
That, my friend, is actually an exotic location.
Cancun?
That's exotic, right?
Compared to Bakersfield.
Yeah, Bakersfield doesn't
yes.
Bakersfield doesn't qualify.
I've heard Bakersfield this time of year was lovely.
No disrespect. We'll just leave it at that.
No disrespect meant or intended to our friends in Bakersfield. But, I'm excited next week, and been having a good run with this Aztec women's basketball team to open the season. So we'll see if they can pile on another victory tonight. But lots to get done on the program today. Our old friend Greg Camarillo is going to be making an appearance in studio today down with you guys. And we'll obviously talk a bunch of NFL with him. Another big week coming up in the National Football League. And it all got underway last night, guys, with a game between the Steelers and the Browns. A game that nobody would have cared about except for the fact that it was played in a second half snowstorm. And this is the kind of thing that I love about the NFL. And the more and more dome stadiums they keep building, they're taking away this kind of stuff. But I'm sure it wasn't great fun to play in, but it sure is fun to sit and watch.
You guys know me. All I could think about was how miserable it looked for everybody to actually be playing. It looked terrible. I mean, and they were doing, and they give the Cleveland Browns grounds crew a lot of credit. They were doing their best to try to keep that snow off the field, but Mother Nature was having no part of it. It turned out to be a really good game, and in part because of the snow, right? I mean, I don't know that anybody tunes into football that enjoys watching football that doesn't see snow and immediately stops to watch the game because no matter who's playing, because there's snow on the field.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was pretty cool, and I got to tell you, but you're right, Tony. I mean, you talk about how uncomfortable it had to be. There was a shot of Russell Wilson in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, where he's lining up under center and he's trying to look out over the defense, and snow is just pouring into his face mask.
He couldn't see anything.
He can't see anything, and so it had to be difficult. But I credit both teams, really. I mean, the Steelers made a great comeback in the fourth quarter. They took the lead, and then I give the Browns credit for going back down the field and winning the game. But it was fun to see some snow. I kind of miss that in the National Football League. We don't get enough of it anymore. But that was quite the evening last night. So we'll talk plenty of NFL. It's obvious. It's also a big weekend in college football.
Yeah.
A lot of big games coming up. We'll discuss those. The Aztecs obviously are in action tomorrow. They're not in one of the nationally renowned games, but nonetheless, they'll be playing at Utah State. NBA Cup continues tonight, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think we have to start with the fact, guys, that today is the deadline day. Dun dun. 3 hours from right now, the deadline for Major League Baseball teams to tender contracts to arbitration-eligible players. If the player is non-tendered, they immediately become an unrestricted free agent. And thank you. And here is how this applies to your favorite team out there, the San Diego Padres, because there are some big names on this list, Tony Gwynn Jr., including Luis Ariz, Dylan Cease, Michael King, and Jason Adam. You can add to the list Luis Camposano, Adrian Morejon, Tyler Wade, Luis Patino.
This is breaking news from 97.3 The Fan.
I've been waiting for you to say
right.
Tyler Wade.
I can't stand you.
Oh, he's already one up? Very good.
Go ahead.
John Heyman has reported that Tyler Wade has agreed to a deal with the San Diego Padres.
Okay,
$900,000, 1 year plus an option.
Very good.
What kind of option? Does it say?
That's all. All it says is 1 year plus option. Let me do some research, Tony.
Yeah, I doubt you're going to get that this soon. So, all right.
Thanks for the
All right,
confidence.
very good.
Well, no, not
All right,
because
so
you
look,
can't
I
get it,
read off
because-
the list. No, I was just saying, I read off the list and it immediately gets shaved down by one. That's good.
Yeah, no, I think that, not to say that you can't find it, I'm just saying it's probably not available yet, Skraby. The only one I think who may be at risk at this point is probably Luis Patino. Everybody else, I would assume, is going to be brought back. Tyler Wade's now off the list, so that leaves 7 guys remaining. I have no doubt that Adams, Arise, Campusano, Cease, King, Mordiahone will all be retained. I think this is part of the calculus of the uptick in salary for the team this year. These are the part of that equation of pay raises that are going to come. Tyler Wade projected 900. They got that projection right. So we'll see how it kind of unfolds from there. But
now the players can they turn down a tender and then go to arbitration? How does that work? Like, how do they get to the point where they have to have someone come and arbitrate it?
no, you can't turn down a tender.
Okay, so if they tender you,
You're
in the
arbitration process.
Gotcha.
You're due for a raise. Team decides not to tender you because these guys haven't reached the 7-year spot yet. So if the team decides not to tender you a contract, then you become a free agent.
Okay.
But if the team decides to tender you a contract, the player can't be like, "Nah, I'm good. I want to be a free agent." It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Yeah, Dylan Cease is projected to get $13.5 million. Luis Arise, $14.5 million. Michael King, close to $8 million. Jason Adam, $5+ million. Again, those are the big four. Luis Campusano and Adrian Mordiahone, both about $1.5 million. So the Padres, between now and 5 o'clock, are going to potentially spend, let's see, 34, 39, 40, 43, $44 million in the next 3 hours, Tony.
Well,
or at least we hope they do.
When you put it like that, I mean, yeah, it does sound kind of crazy.
I know,
but yeah, that's the business of baseball right there. There are going to be a lot of teams in the next 3 hours that will be spending that, perhaps even more than what the Padres are spending in that time. So it does seem like things are starting to. Does feel like there's movement, all right? Like the ground is moving underneath us in baseball as we get closer and closer to those winter meetings.
Let me ask you this, Tony, just as, to throw the question out there. If we get to 5 o'clock today, and let's say any of the big four, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Luis Arise, Jason Adam, are not tendered contracts, and any of the four become unrestricted free agents, is there any way that is good for the Padres, or is that just a big negative?
I mean, some would say it's malpractice, honestly, if you're not tendering these guys contract. Because now, I mean, at least if you tender them a contract, you can trade them. If you're just allowing them just to walk away, any of the guys you just named, Cease, Adam, like that, that would be foolish.
You're getting all these guys for below their actual value anyway, right? Most times. Dylan Cease is 13-something million. Right. He's probably worth way more than
on
that
the open market. So the players, I'm sure, in most cases, before they got to
happens.
Yeah, they would love for you to be like a player. Let me rephrase that. A player like Jason Adam, Luis Arise, Dylan Cease, Michael King, even Mordiahone. This short of free agency would love for the Padres to be like, yeah, man, go ahead, test the open market.
They'd be like, gladly.
Happily. So,
can I also get my stuff in my locker because I'm leaving?
So basically what we're saying, this is kind of a matter of just a matter of almost fact. I mean, this is almost a non, this is just something that happens every off season, and today happens to be the day. And so these guys will remain Padres.
Like
this is just kind of
it's
done and done.
Yeah, just to kind of give you a level right? A guy like myself would be worried about getting tendered a contract, right?
Okay.
A guy like Dylan Cease is not worried about whether the Padres are going to bring him back, because at the very least, and I'm certainly not saying the Padres are going to do this, don't think they will. They could at least trade you and get something back for you, as opposed to just letting you walk and make far more money than. I mean, I'm sure the players' union would suggest that all teams that have a likes of a Dylan Cease, a Jason Allen, say, hey, yeah, go ahead, test free agency.
Now, I got a question about like Dylan Cease in particular, because he only has 1 year left of arbitration, 1 year left of control. Could the Padres then go to him and say, hey, we want to skip your last year of arbitration. We want to sign you to an extension?
Absolutely. Okay. That's what happens all the time, especially for young guys, right? They'll basically sign a deal that buys out your arbitration years, usually as well as one, perhaps two of your free agent years. That's kind of the trade-off. We get you a multi-year deal before you're eligible to be a free agent, and we end up cutting into some of those free agent years, right? Acuna, Albies, those type of deals.
All right, so let me just say this then, since this is a done and done, situation. Let's not wait until 5 minutes to 5 to pick up the phone. Just in case the guy doesn't answer. Just in case there's some sort of situation, that your internet goes down. Whatever it might be.
The Dylan Cease released by the Padres because AJ Preller's internet went down.
Yes. AJ Preller tried to contact Dylan Cease at 3 minutes to 5 o'clock, but something went haywire. Yeah, let's not wait. Why are we waiting so long? Let's just get them all done right now.
I think like the trade deadline, there perhaps have probably most likely already been phone calls letting you know which way they were going to go and or trying to complete an actual deal. We don't know of any of those things happening, but I'm sure those conversations have already been had.
I should also say it's reportedly that Tyler Wade. I always need to have reportedly until it's official by the Padres.
No, you said it was John Heyman reporting. You did your due diligence.
He also said the arson judge was going to be a San Francisco Giant, so that doesn't help my case at all.
No, did he say he was going to be a San Francisco? Or
I think he said arson judge to the Giants.
Maybe that. Oh, he did say that. You're right. Old arson.
All right. Well, we are underway for a Friday. Finally, a Friday. It's going to be a good show today. We got our Friday countdown a little bit later. Of course, we got a Big Five. We've got our Daily Gambit. We got Chris versus the fans. We got Greg Camarillo in studio to talk NFL. There's a lot going on. And before we go to our first break, I want to tell you all, according to my wife, who watched our show on the YouTube channel yesterday, I was sitting too close to the camera.
Many people would have said that.
It's funny.
Well, why didn't somebody tell me before I did the whole show?
Before we even go down this path, Chris, I don't see you during the show. I have no access to see you. So,
okay.
Skraby is the only one to blame for you being too close to the camera.
Come on, help me out a little, will you?
This was yesterday. We were having troubles. We've had technical issues all week. I'm not blaming it on Chris. I'm just saying we've had issues.
I shouldn't say tempers. I should say emotions.
Nerves were frayed.
Nerves were frayed. There you go. So
we were all yelling. I was yelling at people. This is Chris though. Yesterday.
Wait, let me see. Hang on. No, I was not. That is totally not accurate.
This goes back to the guy, the computer genius you were going to have work with him.
I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at the setup right now. My head looks the same size as everybody's.
Oh no, you were I actually noticed that you were in a different position today. So thank you, Lori, for being my helper in this whole thing. We're gonna get this
She's
right.
She's the Chris Whisperer.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, honey, you're standing too close to the camera.
Well, I'm kind of blame her a little bit too. She was more than capable of sending me a text and letting me know that during the show. But everybody, all right, Skraby, I got you.
You have another great rant.
Yes,
we need.
That's why we need to get to break.
Oh
because
man,
on the other side of this,
I am livid with the NFL right now, and I'll tell you all why when we come back. Underway, Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan.
Tune in this week to Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti, where they break down all the headlines in the NFL. Presented by...
2:22 on this Friday, lovely Friday afternoon. A little warmer than it's been. We are lucky to live here in San Diego, I must say. This weather is, it's a reminder, it's November 22nd. Everywhere else, it is quite chilly.
It was snowing last night in Cleveland.
As we saw. Here it is, about 76 today?
I had the audacity to walk the dogs this morning and think, it's too chilly for me to be walking the dog.
I know. The reality is there's probably a lot of people who are walking their dogs.
It was like 58.
Saying the same exact thing.
It's fine.
It's just who we are, and it's okay. We are spoiled to the core when it comes
really
to
stupid
this weather.
feeling that
yeah,
way.
No, I mean, listen, I don't even try to hide it anymore.
Tony,
like,
I
I
just
know
wanna...
I'm weak sauce when it comes to cold weather. I don't even try to perpetrate at all.
Tony, you and I are we're spoiled. Skraby's soft. I mean, there's just a difference.
Wait a second. I've lived in snowy regions many times.
You lived there a
well,
lot
then you
longer
should
than
be
I have.
better at this cold weather than we are, and you're not.
I didn't say I couldn't handle it. I just thought it's a little too chilly for me to be walking the dogs.
Yeah.
Like Lucky is half husky. He absolutely loves the cold.
This is Lucky's
This is his
territory
thing.
right
He
here.
loves to go out to the backyard and sit on the hill and just take in the cold air.
That 76 is probably like, man, it's a little toasty.
He's always breathing like Chris every time it gets hot.
Wow. Shots fired. All right, Chris. So
I just want to say that Lucky the dog will roll and poop in any weather.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. And I get frustrated every time.
That is also true. All right, Chris. You have a bit of a rant. It's not.
Yes.
It's not very often that a flex in a game could actually affect people that we actually know. We're usually talking about this, and it's just kind of out there. This one actually hit close to home. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'm going to take on the National Football League and their greediness here because they announced today that the Charger-Bronco game, which was originally scheduled for December 22nd on a Sunday afternoon, has been changed to the Thursday night game that week, and it'll now be played on Thursday, December 18th. They changed places with a Cincinnati-Cleveland game that was originally the Sunday night game or the Thursday night game. That's going to be moved back. Anyway, here's the thing. This is the first time that the NFL has flexed a game to a totally different day.
Yeah.
They have changed Sunday afternoon games to Sunday night and then moved Sunday night games to Sunday afternoon. I never found fault or a problem with that because if you have tickets to the game at 1 o'clock, pretty good chance you can still go to the game at 5 o'clock. All right, so you have to change your schedule around a little bit as a fan, but not very much. They give you a lot of, leadway. The game's 3 hours later or it's 3 hours earlier than original. But for me, to move a game from a Sunday, which is an off work day for 99% of the people, and move it to a Thursday, which is a on work day for 99% of the people, I think is ridiculous. And as you mentioned, Tony, this just so happened to affect me and my wife. So maybe you might say this is why I'm so angry. That's only part of it. But we were going to go up on that Sunday morning, December 22nd. Lori got some tickets. She's from Denver. We were going to see the game. And it was going to be my first chance to go to SoFi Stadium. I'd never been there before. We've already purchased parking for $68, I believe it cost.
We were a part of that. We certainly were
a
part of that.
You were part of that.
Yeah.
And now they changed the game to a Thursday. Well, neither Lori nor I can go on a Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Why not?
We work, as do most people. And I just think if you've made plans, to go to a game that's either in town, but especially out of town, to actually change the date of the game is just totally not caring about your fans at all. And this is what I've often said about the NFL. They care more about making more money and they care more about, putting the better game. I get all that, but I don't think you can do this to your fans. I cannot be the only person who's totally inconvenienced by this and now won't be able to go to the game. And I'll tell you one thing, the parking people up there better get ready because they're getting a phone call from my wife, and she's going to be demanding those $68 back in a big hurry.
Oh, this is, when this started and before you kind of laid it all out, I was going to play devil's advocate there for a sec.
Okay.
But I was unaware that it had never been flexed on a different day. It had only been flexed on Sunday, as you said, early, maybe to late.
Right.
Yeah, this is a big inconvenience. Now, it sounds like 100% you and Lori will not be going to this game.
I'm 100% not going for sure.
Why?
You realize it's a short day that day.
Yeah,
we're off the air pretty
we
early.
could go to you. You could give us a report from the stadium.
With all due respect,
you're
I appreciate
depriving
you
us
guys.
of some material too.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I appreciate you guys trying to get rid of me like that, but I think I've had enough built-in off days already, and I'm not going to take an extra one.
I'm going to sit here and stop you right there and say, Chris, you can probably just call up the boss, and the boss is going to be like,
here's
cool.
Here's what I'll say, Chris, and I know you're going to feel differently about this. You have a partner that misses a lot of show because of the job at hand.
Who's that?
But you miss because you're
that would be me.
You miss because you're working. Just like today, I'm not in studio because I'm working. To me, it's a totally different animal to just take off a day and go up to a football game willy-nilly. I don't like it, and I'm not doing it. And I'm going to stay mad at the NFL.
I don't disagree with any of your criticism, because what if people bought tickets to this game from Kansas City, flew in, and now they're like, wait, we have to move our hotel reservation, we have to move our flight reservation.
Your issue, right, for this one, Chris, is probably on the minimal scale in terms of you guys can at least drive up, drive back, and that costs you a lot. But some people, as Matt just said, are flying in right now, and sometimes dealing with airlines, you're gonna need a hurricane, Lori, to get your money back in some of those instances.
How many Denver fans? Honestly, Denver's they love that team. How many Denver fans already bought tickets to come to L.A. on that Friday, stay the weekend, see the game on Sunday, and go home? Well, now they fly in on Friday. They're going to miss the game.
It's true.
I really think the NFL has made a major mistake here, and I think they got to reconsider doing this. The NFL was like, well, we voted this in as something new we could do this year, as long as we give 28 days notice. Oh, well, thank you. So you gave 31 days notice. People plan a lot farther ahead than that.
How did they come up with 28 days?
Who knows?
As the marker for this will be okay. Everybody will be good with this.
The people also making these decisions are the people that could probably just hop on a private jet and go wherever they want and get whatever room they want.
Part of the reason they released the schedule in the piecemeal way they do early is so that people can kind of make a plan for it. So it's not just 28 days out. It's not like the schedule's out and people wait till the 28 a month before. Like, a lot of people are planning this out months in advance.
I just asked our boss for Chris if he could have the day off. I texted him. Let me see.
You are really trying to get rid of me. I'm not going to the game.
No,
I'm working.
The reason is I want you to go to the game because you've been telling us how much you've been looking forward to going to see SoFi and going in the stadium. I will boycott if you don't go to the game.
But you're not going to show up to work?
I will not show up to work if Chris shows up to work.
Chris,
that's down the road.
By the way,
it's ultimately your decision.
Boss said yes.
But
I also referee high school basketball, and I have a game scheduled that night, and that is inconveniencing all of those people as well.
28 days to get it figured out.
I'm just
31 actually.
Sorry,
31.
I don't know. I'm not pleased. I'm not pleased with the National Football League for putting me and us in this situation. So there you have it.
That's tough, man. I can totally see how that. I mean, just in general, going from a Sunday to a Thursday for most people in this country.
Now I got to find babysitters.
It's a big deal.
Anything.
So interesting that it touches home a little closer than it typically does. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, we teased yesterday about this possible betting, or should say point shaving scandal that is starting to percolate a little bit in the sports world. We'll get into that a little bit when we return. More Gwynn and Chris.
The biggest guests in San Diego sports talk appear.
All right, Crisello, sitting further away from the camera today. In Bakersfield, California, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby, Odyssey Palace Studios, San Diego, California. It's Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan, 2:38 is the time. Wrapping things up, obviously, this week. Next week, with the Thanksgiving holiday, our show being later in the afternoon, we're going to be off on Thanksgiving Eve. So only 2 shows for you next week. That will be Monday and Tuesday. Monday will be a shorter show because of Monday Night Football. I believe the Chargers are involved in that game as well, Monday night against the Ravens.
This Monday night, yeah.
Yeah, and then Tuesday will be a full show next week. So that is the schedule coming up on the as far as next week is concerned. We are going to talk about, this is something that I wish wasn't out there, Tony Gwynn Jr., but it's out there.
Yeah.
And the more it goes along, the more, I get worried about it. And it's just interesting to me that all of these sports, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and every other sport I'm sure is getting in on it as well, tennis, golf. How long is it going to be before, when I'm watching my Sunday afternoon coverage of the Masters, that there are bet now odds on whether or not so-and-so will make a 15-foot putt? I mean, we're going to have to start betting on everything in order to keep up with the way things are going. And it just seems like Adam Silver and Rob Manfred and Goodell and Gary Bettman and the rest of the sports following behind these 4 guys are all just walking into a dark cave without actually knowing what's truly in there. Yeah. And I just have a bad feeling that this whole gambling thing is it's gonna be waiting for them at some point in time. And it just keeps getting, these stories keep coming up, Tony.
Yeah, I don't even know that it's one of those deals where they didn't know. I mean, all of them had rules in place because you'd have to assume they for what they thought could happen. Yeah. Yet the money became too big and too irresistible, basically, for these big time, companies. And they're going to have to deal with the consequences. I hope that this is just like the beginning stages. People will adjust and it won't be a problem. But my fear is that this is only the start of what is going to be a more frequent thing as we get further and further down.
What happened?
We haven't. Well, we haven't necessarily gotten to the specific story, but feds are investigating an ex-Temple player for alleged point shaving. It seems as though that federal authorities are investigating. Hyzir Miller bet on his own games and manipulated the outcome of Owls games he played in, according to sources with direct knowledge of the situation. Miller, Temple's leading scorer last season, transferred to Virginia Tech during the offseason, but was dismissed by the Hokies October 23rd because of this federal investigation. A regular season Temple game drew attention for unusual betting activity in March. In said game, the point spread moved notably the morning of the game, growing from UAB a -2 to a -8 by early afternoon. That's a huge jump in basketball specifically. Yes. Before multiple sports books halted betting on the contest, a 6-point line movement on a college basketball, as I said, is rare, especially late in the season, unless there are injuries or suspensions. Bookmakers and bettors said. So, this is like pretty. I mean, if this turns out to be true, pretty brazen, right? I mean, he's not only betting on his games, but he's also affecting the outcome of his game. And they're watching. There's one thing that we're starting to learn. All of the major sports are paying people to watch and see if their guys pop up on there. So the leagues are watching for their own play, which brings me to this issue here. This is the NCAA. And Chris, you and I both know that the NCAA, they got a whole lot going on right now. They're trying to figure out the NIL deals. They're trying to figure out transfer portal deals. And now you got betting that, I think for a large time it was college was supposed to be a do not touch territory. Doesn't mean that it wasn't touched, because we know about the scandal in Boston College, however many years back that was, plus this one. Had the one, there was another one I'm missing.
There was one here in town.
One here in town, that's right.
Yeah.
And so.
USD.
And so, Chris, I don't know that the NCAA has, the money to be paying some of these same folks to watch to see if there's college athletes. By the way, there are far more college athletes than there are professional in terms of trying to, monitor that. But as I was saying, I think I'm scared that this is just the tip that's going to all come a lot more frequently down in years to come.
There's another.
Sorry,
go ahead,
Chris.
Greg. No, you get in there on this for a minute.
I said the other night, if people are really serious, regulators, government, about safe betting, they should have never allowed anyone to bet on Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
You're back to this. Huh?
I am, because I feel like that is stealing people's money. Jake Paul said after the fight, I just kept it going because I wanted to give people entertainment. Well, what if you bet that the fight was going to end in the fifth round?
I'm sorry. This one in particular.
Did we lose Chris? Chris, are you still there?
No, I'm here, but the computer for the StreamYard is causing some problems. I will reconnect shortly.
Okay, as long as you're still there.
I think the problem with that one is, some of this is on the bettors here. Like, Jake Paul is 27 years of age. Mike Tyson is 58 years of age.
But how can you say, they should know what they're betting on? You're accepting their money without saying, hey, this is an exhibition match.
Because your common sense should tell you, this one ain't.
But people don't have common sense when they get addicted to betting or alcohol or drugs or whatever it is.
But I think that's a different issue than what we're actually talking about with these college athletes, professional athletes, betting on themselves or their teams.
That is a different issue.
It's a completely different issue.
It is. I just would like to see the people in charge, like the NBA, the NFL, all of these organizations that are now intertwined with gambling, stop worrying about, losing their money. Because the only reason they're watching these things is so that they can keep having people bet, and knowing that they're betting on something that's truly random, the outcome.
Right.
So, but they're paying people to monitor this. They wouldn't be doing that if they were going to lose money down the road.
No, they're paying people to monitor their players from doing it.
Here's a couple.
It ends up hurting betting altogether when you find out that a player, so they're looking to protect their own pockets by watching these
I think
things.
it's in all of our interest that they do that, because we want the leagues to exist. Because eventually the leagues don't exist if people don't trust that the players are. That
is the ultimate disaster.
Right.
I'm sure not within sight right now, but it really wouldn't take much. I mean, you find out that a World Series game was thrown, and look what happened in, was it 1919, the Black Sox scandal. That would, imagine something like that happening in a day like now. Here's another area of this.
It'd be over. It would literally be over.
It considerably could be over, or at least be to a point where you would have to take a break for 5 or 6 years, where sports had to earn the trust of the people back, the public back, so that we believe stuff is really
on the up and up. Here's the other thing. They just sent out a memo, the NFL, the other day, and the NBA has sent out the same memo now. And that is about athletes having to be concerned with these burglary rings coming to their homes while they're on the road, being as everybody knows this. If you look at this from a gambling perspective and you start putting crime into it, because we're talking right now about one single kid who bet on his game, and try to affect the game, and there's an investigation. What happens when criminal betting, criminal type of activity starts betting heavy money on games and losing games because a certain player makes a terrible mistake, a bonehead timeout, an error, or misses a field goal, how long is it before somebody's going to lean on one of these guys? We've already heard players say that they have been concerned for their safety, but I think most of that is just from fans and crazy people out there. What happens if organized crime starts getting involved in this stuff? I don't want these players in jeopardy because they're missing a field goal.
So you're
nobody's
thinking like
thinking
Celtic
about
Pride,
any of this.
where they go and they
Celtic
and
pride.
they kidnap Damon Wayans, the
And
star
they
of the
kidnap
Utah
a
Jazz.
player.
I wouldn't
It's
honestly.
laughable,
Woody
but
Harrelson
it's
in that
not
movie?
laughable. You
Uh,
know?
Woody Harrelson, was he? It was the guy from Home Alone.
It was the guy from Home Alone. You're right.
And
you're
then
right.
Dion made an
No,
appearance
Daniel
at the end when
Stern.
they.
Daniel
Stern,
Stern.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I that's we're living in a world where that isn't crazy to think about.
I told you
happening.
guys that it wasn't that long ago when I was playing that, especially my early years in like 06, 07, they used to have like a former made man come in and basically,
said, Tony, you're
I
not
mean, he was connected. He was well connected, and part of the reason they brought him in was to tell us that although you may think no one's watching and you don't have anybody, that could get close to you, get close enough to you to have you end up being a part of something like this, there are certainly guys, at least at that time, that were looking for the weak link, so to speak, that they could take advantage of. And so it's definitely something that's out there. And I just hope, for sports' sake, that they can kind of figure out a way, or that either that or that people can all of a sudden wisen up. I think I have to lean on the first option, because it doesn't seem like people are going to wisen up on this. But
No, they're not.
I just hope, especially in the collegiate level, that we don't start seeing this more and more.
I mean, the sports really are. You're right, Tony. When I brought up the cave example, they're walking into a cave that they know there's a couple of monsters in the cave.
Yeah.
And they're still hoping that they're going to survive. I mean, it's like they're throwing a Hail Mary. Let's just do it anyway, regardless of what terrible things can happen.
That's kind of how the NCAA has approached everything, though. Outside of this, like
Wild Wild West, baby.
let's just do it and we'll fix it as we go.
Yeah, well, we can hope. And of course, we have our gaming segment in the next hour.
It's coming up right after this, actually.
But
Yeah,
we
so-
say, please gamble responsibly. And you know why we do that? We actually do mean it. We do, because someone suggested that to us a couple years ago.
We do that segment as a way to preview some of the upcoming games that are important and pick the games for fun. But, this is what people want to do now. They want to gamble on this stuff. And I still can't get over watching an NHL game now, and in the second period they put on the screen while the game is going on the current odds, the current over-under total for goals, the current who's going to score next, and what the odds are. This is going on the screen during the game. How much longer before, what do you want to bet LeBron James makes both free throws? What do you want to bet that Anthony Davis makes his next, jump shot? I mean, pretty soon we're not going to be able to watch the game at all.
It's already like that in golf, though, for some broadcasts.
Yeah.
I think on the Golf
Is it
Channel,
really?
they do have a separate, like, online-only feed where these guys sit around and they talk about the live bets on the course and things like that.
So you're telling me that, Scheffler stands over a 12-foot putt, and they put odds up there on the screen right then and there.
Yeah, and they also do things like who's going to have the best score on this hole. Is it going to be this golfer, or all golfers have the same score? Who's going to have the longest drive on this hole? Who's going to be closest to the pin on this hole? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's too fast for me. I can't keep up with that stuff.
Part of gambling is doing it, kind of being able to think about it. Like, they put those numbers up. You got like a certain amount of time to figure out what you want to bet on, and if you feel good about it, and then by the time you throw it out there, you just bet now.
In professional golf, you were flipping a coin for someone to get closest to the hole. Yeah. Any of those guys could be closest to the hole.
Yeah, no doubt. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Is football. Head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego P-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go.
I just hope that one of these days, we're not sitting here with saying "I told you so," because this is one subject I do not want to ever have to say "I told you so."
Yeah, because that would mean the end of this show. Basically, if those type of things start to happen, there will be no more sports to talk about because people will turn it off if they they start to believe no one's out there really competing.
No, there's no question about it, Tony. 100%. We made it through 40 minutes of radio without giving people out there the most important story of the day.
We don't have time for it.
Yes, we do. Skraby, why don't you tell everybody what it is?
Oh, that's right. Wait, hit the breaking real quick. We can do it right before we go to bed.
Oh, it's not breaking.
Oh, no, it's definitely breaking. Go ahead, hit it.
This is breaking news from 97.3 The Fan.
Now you can reserve for non-tender conversations.
Go ahead, you can break the news to everybody.
Nick Bosa and Brock Purdy will not be playing in the game this weekend for the 49ers against the Packers in Green Bay. So
hang with them.
It's not looking good for the 49ers right now. It's not looking good. That's a little shot across the bow to some of the people out there in San Francisco. Like, Brock Purdy can't throw it deep. Well,
you don't have him to throw it at all. Where's Trey Lance at? You guys could use him right about now.
He can't even play for the Cowboys.
Welcome to the Brandon Allen era, Skraby.
Yes. All right, Daily Gambit, when we get back, Skraby here, and we're heading into Skraby.
Next up, hour number 2. Here on Gwynn and Chris, Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Skraby. A little daily gambit after we just had our serious anti-gambling talk. We will bring it back for, Skraby, you could have just told me to fix my camera, man. You didn't have to get up out of your seat, brother.
I'm just trying not to upset the show and just do it myself.
No, we don't need to do that.
Thank you.
You got some folks getting at you a little bit on the chat.
Yeah. Everybody wants to dance on the Niners' grave.
Come on over. There's plenty of room on the dance floor.
I also, from Dave on the chat, want to place a friendly wager, Matt Skraby? Go, Pack, go. My answer to you, Dave, is absolutely not. Why would I ever wager on a game where my starting quarterback is out and the best defensive player on the team is out, Nick Bosa? That just seems like a lose for me.
And it is.
Yeah.
It's not the time to be asking for bets.
I can't wait when we're talking about a 49er win on Monday. And everybody has to be quiet.
That'll make you guys, what, 6-6?
No, they lose, they'll be 5-6, and then the next week they play at Buffalo. That's why I'm yelling 5-7.
Chris has been yelling 5-7 all week. There's also an interesting suggestion on the chat from, I think it's TM1, Danny Dimes in San Francisco if Brock Purdy's out long term.
I actually heard that this morning. I can't remember if it was Get Up or First Take.
Because the Giants have released it. If he clears waivers, he's a free agent.
He'll be a free agent. And, I mean, I will say this. Your guy is pretty good when he gets a new toy in his toy chest.
Arsenal.
Yes, for sure. I don't know that Daniel Dimes is the guy, though. I mean, they're going from Brock Purdy to DD.
I'd rather go to Daniel Dimes than Brandon Allen.
Yeah, I don't think so. You really wouldn't, I don't think.
Brandon Allen, he's been in the system. There's some
He's been in the system.
Yeah.
He knows what they're doing. I mean, Daniel Jones, you'd have to scale back the playback book by like 90%.
I get that. I don't know why I'm such a big Daniel Jones believer, because he's done nothing but prove to me that I shouldn't believe in Daniel Jones. But I also think a lot of it has to do with the team that he's played for his entire career, which is the Giants. He's gone through coaches. He's gone through offensive coordinators. He's had a torn ACL. They pretty much got rid of Saquon Barkley last year. I mean, you take away one of the best running backs in the league, you put more pressure on Daniel Jones. What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, I don't know.
Go to San Francisco.
All right. Daily Gambit. All three of us got our bets in. Let's see how we fared.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Well, nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. We do mean it. Tony is entering the room right now. Greg Camarillo is in the house, and we will be talking to him next. But you can come on in, Greg. No problem. Have a seat. All right, everybody can come on in. Sorry, I'm talking to Greg, talking to everyone. Let's get into the bets, though, because first we had Steelers -3.5 against the Browns on the spread. Tony and I chose the Steelers. Chris chose the Browns, and as we know now, the Browns 24-19. So that one, we did not win. Chris did win. Okay, George Pickens. Which bet would you make? Over 4.5 receptions or over 60.5 receiving yards? All of us said he would do both. He came short on both of them, 4 catches for 48 yards, so that didn't happen either.
Once I saw the snowflakes falling, I knew that any bet we had for George Pickens was probably not going to go well. Although, my guy, Let's Ride, he was on. He had a good game.
Until the end.
I mean, he had the fumble, but that was it.
That's a big fumble. We're going to ask Greg Camarillo about what it's like to play in a snow game, because
it looks horrible.
It looks horrible. They're calling that the snow globe game now in Cleveland. Like,
all I know is the first half it seemed reasonable, and then it was like someone turned on like turned on the
And that
snow.
was awesome. That was great.
I
loved it.
I couldn't help but think how miserable.
Tony, you're just too cold of an individual. I mean,
Too
you gotta,
cold as in he can't handle 65.
Yes.
he can't, man.
Yes.
The guy wears a knit cap in June.
Fair enough.
Next bet, Georgia Tech -8.5 over North Carolina State. Georgia Tech, you guys chose Georgia Tech. I chose NC State. Georgia Tech won the game, but they only won by 30-29, so I get that one. Baylor basketball -2.5 against St. John's. You guys chose St. John's. I chose Baylor. Baylor did win, but they did not cover. 99-98 in double overtime.
That must have been some great game. I didn't watch it, but I bet it was pretty good.
Yeah, double OT. USF -1.5 over Memphis. You guys chose Memphis. I chose my Dons. Memphis wins 68-64.
Sorry.
Next one. Who had more rushing yards, Najee Harris or Nick Chubb +20? We all went Najee. Najee had 41. Nick Chubb had 59 +20. He had 79, so he wins that one. We all lose.
I got like one win on these bets.
Yeah,
so
these
far.
are bad bets for all of us today. Jameis Winston, who had more passing yards, Jameis or Russell Wilson? Jameis Winston 219. Russell Wilson +50, so he threw for 270. Russell wins, and we win the bet on this one. He didn't need
I was
the 50.
4-2, so you guys speak for yourselves.
I was 2-4, so that was
all right.
Brutal.
I felt good about my day yesterday. All right, here we go with a lot of great games coming up this weekend. We'll start with the NBA Cup continuing tonight.
Cup games.
Chicago Bulls have never won an NBA Cup game, Anthony.
Ever?
Ever.
Oh, wow.
They will be home to the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Hawks are favored by 1.5 points in Chicago, where I might add that the Bulls are 1-5 this year at home. Tony, why don't you go? You're the NBA guy.
Bulls 1-5 at home. And who they got again?
They got the Hawks coming in.
The Hawks.
The Hawks. The Hawks are favored by 1.5.
Give me the Bulls.
Doubles. The Bulls at some point have to win an NBA Cup game, maybe tonight.
Tonight is the night.
Tonight's the night. Scraby, who do you got? I'm taking the Bulls also. Scrabe?
The Bulls have been playing better than I thought they would play this year up to this point, so I'm going to say Bulls. And the Bucks have been playing below to where I thought they would play.
Yeah, the Bucks beat the
Wait,
Bulls.
I thought we said the Hawks.
Yeah,
we
we're
did
playing
say
the
the
Hawks here.
Never mind.
So,
I'm still
I'm like, wait a minute. If they're the Bucks, that's
He's giving a breakdown of the Bucks, and they're not even in the game.
Okay. I'm still going with the Bulls, though, because the Hawks aren't very good.
You're supposed to gamble responsibly, Scraby.
I thought we were playing the Bucks for a second.
That is not responsible. All right, let's get into some of the college football tomorrow. You've got undefeated Indiana, but they're playing at Ohio State. It's a big one, obviously. Ohio State. Here's the respect they have for Indiana. Ohio State is favored by 11 points.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't expect Indiana to be able to run with these guys. If I'm Indiana, I'm using all of that motivation, man. We got to go out and show what we can do. I got to take Indiana just because I'm going to be rooting for them anyway. So, Indiana plus 11. Scrape?
I'm going to go with Indiana, too, because I feel like they're doing things that are kind of like those destiny things.
Definitely are. They haven't won this many games ever, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, never.
This is going to be tough, but I'm going to say Indiana.
It's their first time with 10-0 ever, yes. Tony?
This feels like one of those games that is either going to be really close or Ohio State is going to blow them out of the water.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's the first, so I'm going to pick with my heart, not with my head.
Yes.
I'm going with the Hoosiers.
I think we're all taking Indiana with our heart, which is not a good way to bet.
None of us are picking that one with our brain there at all.
No, we're not. Colorado, the story in college football, trying to wrap up a spot in the Big 12 championship game. They're 3-point favorites at Kansas. Kansas is coming off of an upset win over BYU. Scraby, you are first here.
Ooh.
Chance for you to pick against your nemesis, Coach Prime.
I can't pick against him. And by the way, he's coming out with shoes next year that are the shoes he wore with the 49ers. And immediately I was like, I need those shoes. But then I felt in my head,
they're
guys
coming
were gonna
out
say,
for us because they're already wearing them on the field, it looks like.
Okay, so, but they're coming out in February. And I thought, can I get those shoes and not have the guys make fun of me? And the
Nope.
answer is yes, I'm getting those
No,
shoes.
you
And
can
I
get
don't
the
even
shoes,
care if
but
you
we
guys
will
make
be
fun of
making
me.
fun of you.
That was my single best year of my life, was 1994 when Deion Sanders was on the 49ers. I loved it. I go with Colorado, though, because Kansas is bad.
Tony, what do you got?
Go Buffs.
All right, I'm going to do a surprise pick. I'll take Kansas here. I think Colorado's due for a loss. And I'm also rooting for Colorado to lose so that maybe there's an outside shot they could come to the Holiday Bowl. And I do think Kansas is capable of winning at home. So I'll take Kansas.
They already upset somebody this year in that
They
conference.
just upset BYU last week.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, one more, actually a couple more in college football. Army is also undefeated. Army is 9-0 for like the first time since the 40s, since I was a kid. And
I just got that.
you just got that? Very good.
I didn't catch that either right away.
Yeah, Army's undefeated, but they're getting 14 points because they're playing at Notre Dame. Tony's first on this one. Notre Dame minus 14 over Army.
I'm going to take Army to cover.
Again, I'm picking with my heart only, but I want Army. I've seen enough of Notre Dame.
Me too.
I could care less if Notre Dame wins. Give me Army and I'll take a shot in the dark.
Notre Dame hasn't been good since Rudy went there.
They're a little more tolerable since Kelly left and went to LSU. Now LSU is not tolerable.
Now they're intolerable. Yeah,
I saw the funniest video. It said if Brian Kelly is hired by USC, and it was this guy doing the surfer talk, like Brian Kelly's going to come out and be like, "Whoop-ah."
That's exactly what he would be doing.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is more tolerable. I like that, Tony. So we're all taking Army.
Yes.
All right, and Utah State is 5 over the Aztecs.
Oh, that game's at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
No, not the Aztec game.
No, the Notre Dame Army game.
Yeah.
Notre Dame Army's at Yankee Stadium. Okay. Utah State minus 5 against the Aztecs. I gotta. They can't make a bowl game, but these are two really important games for Sean Lewis. He's got to win these two games to get a little confidence back heading into the offseason. So I say they come through. Skraby?
We did. You weren't here for this, Chris, but we did. CBS Sports ranked the worst 25 teams in college football right now.
Oh boy.
San Diego State was 24th. Utah State was 25th. So I'm going to take San Diego State to cover, get the +5.
Oh, it's a top 25 matchup, but it's on the wrong end.
The
of
wrong
rankings.
end.
Tony?
Yeah, I'll take the Aztecs. Come on, baby.
Yeah, of course. All right, on Sunday, I don't know. This has probably changed now. Green Bay was a 3-point favorite over San Francisco. I bring this up for a couple of reasons. But here's one of the reasons, Skraby. Do you realize this is the first time in 36 games, which is like almost 2 full seasons, that or more than 2 full seasons, that the 49ers have not been favored?
Yes, I did read
They
that
are
this
not
morning.
favored in this game. It's the first time since 2022.
I did read that this morning.
That's crazy. The all-time record was the Patriots back in 2016 to 20. They were favored in 64 consecutive games.
Wow.
But
The new line is 5.5, by the way, for the Packers.
I was going to say, with Purdy out, 5.5. All right, Skraby, you're first. I'll give you 5.5 if you want it.
I'm going 49ers.
Showing faith.
Yes.
Tony?
He's not going 49ers. I can just see it in his soul.
Trying to think
You
of
know
something
what?
clever.
I'm going Green Bay.
I knew it.
I have a feeling that the 49ers are going to buck up here. They have to.
I hope they
And
don't.
whenever I pick them, they tend to lose, which is what I'm actually secretly hoping for.
He's
So
going
I'll
Green
pick
Bay,
them.
though.
No, I'm taking the 49ers.
Okay. All right.
And that's good.
All right.
That's good for the weekend.
Good.
Be good. All right.
All right, let's step away. Let's take a break. When we come back, our good friend Greg Camarillo.
Good friend, huh?
I got nervous because all his three girls are in there.
Yes.
He's in here.
We have an audience.
Greg Camarillo joins us next. We'll talk a little NFL football on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Before we went, but I do. His beautiful daughters are in here with us, talking some NFL football. We haven't got to do this in a little bit, Greg.
Good to be back in here.
Come on, Skraby. Gotta get the mics right, man.
And I'm not talking into the mic now. Jeez, what is this? My first day in radio? Go ahead, Greg.
Do I need to press?
There
it?
we go.
All right, there we go.
No, it's unbelievable. You think I'm the one that needs lessons. I mean, it's, I don't get it.
Greg, NFL football season has been quite interesting. I mean, we could start last night. As you probably heard me saying on the way over here or while you were sitting next to me, all I could think about is how miserable that game looked.
It looked great, though. On TV, it looked great.
All I was watching was for, after the play ended. Because the adrenaline's rolling when you're hitting guys, and as soon as the play ends, that tends to be where the time where you can kind of see, the realness of it all. And every time, there was at least one or two guys that looked like, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's probably half of the guys. So a little bit of snow is not bad. Like the first few flurries, you're like, oh, this is cool. We're playing a snow game. And then you get wet. And that's where the difference happens. It's like the first few flurries, you're fine. You got a sleeve or you're not that wet. But then when you're wet and it's 30 degrees, it becomes absolutely miserable.
It's funny you said that because the guy I watched the most was Patrick McQueen because he was flying around early. And in the second half when the snow was on the ground, the way he was trying to catch himself when he had to tackle somebody so that the rest of his body wasn't getting wet, it was kind of fun to watch him the rest of the game.
Try to land on top of someone, try to stay up, hold somebody up until the ref blows the whistle. We saw the kicker drying his shoes off there on the side.
He had to change shoes at one point.
Yeah.
So that was a scene right there. A kicker with his foot in front of the heater.
Notice where the holder and the kicker were that whole time. That heat blower that was going out, they were all in line with it.
I mean, that's the greatest thing. They have these heated benches too, so you can get on there, get your feet in there, get your helmet on there, hang out by the heater. It's a good place to be.
Sounds like it.
Greg,
Chris.
real quick on the snow thing, I just want to ask Greg, as a Dolphin guy, and knowing Greg was one of my all-time favorite Dolphins, of course. How many games did the Dolphins truly lose over the years because it was just too darn cold for them? I mean, is it really a factor that they play all year in warm weather and in December have to go into this cold stuff?
Absolutely a factor. And it's just getting used to it. And it's the benefit the other way. So the Dolphins have the benefit in August when it's hot and humid and absolutely miserable, and cool teams come down and play and they die. We played the Raiders, put them in black uniforms, and they just
that.
It's miserable, but it goes the opposite way. You're in Miami in December. It's 82 degrees. It's glorious, and you don't have to deal with wet gloves, wet sleeves, cold feet. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's windy, and it's cold, and you're miserable, and you can't wait till you get back in the shower after the game. So it's absolutely a huge effect. And when I was traded from Miami to Minnesota, then I got the other side of that. I learned how to, 32 degrees in December is a glorious day. Let's take our shirt off and
they
go
weren't in
outside.
that nice cozy stadium they had. Or at this point, you guys were playing outside that year, right?
Well, kind of both. We played the year the dome collapsed over a snowstorm.
So you guys were playing at University of Minnesota,
and then we
right?
played outside.
I remember one of those games. They were talking about I assume typically in NFL stadiums there's some type of heat under the ground.
Yep.
University of Minnesota did not have that.
Rock
and
solid.
So you guys were hitting basically concrete when they were tackling you guys.
That's how Brett Favre's career ended. He hit the rock hard ground and got a concussion, and then that was it. That was a wrap for him.
Did you play in that Seattle playoff game that was like -4 degrees? Where the guy missed the field goal for Minnesota on the last play of the game?
I did not. No, the coldest I've ever been is probably like the 20s or 30s. I was on IR with Miami when they went to Kansas City. I think it was -16, and I was just cold watching it. It looked absolutely miserable. But they got the dub, so, it worked out all right.
I remember you telling me a story, Greg, about when you were returning a punt in Pittsburgh, and it was on Monday Night Football, and it rained so much, and the field was horrible, but there was so much water on the field that the punt just stuck in the ground and didn't, bounce back up to you or anything like that.
like a golf shot. And so now what just brought that up is they're playing – the high school playoff games in Snapdragon. We know Snapdragon has had their issues of cold weather, and then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious. And then suddenly you go into a cold environment like Buffalo, and it's 32 degrees, and it's glorious grass problems. And so imagine this bomb cyclone that's going on in Portland or Seattle, wherever. It comes to San Diego. It pours rain. They play high school games. I think it must have been Friday.
Yep.
They played the University of Pittsburgh game Saturday. And the field was a disaster. So what they did is they said, let's put out some new turf. But instead of taking out the old turf, they put the new turf on top of the old turf. So like your foot would sink probably 4 or 5 inches every time you took a step. And then the punt just stuck right in the ground. And it comes up every 3, 4, 5 years. And there I am on a...
And another Dolphin loss on the road in miserable conditions, if I recall correctly.
Hey, wait. I thought he was one of your favorite Dolphins, Chris.
He's my favorite. The team is what, drives
him crazy. All right, a couple of storylines, at least today. The New York Giants seemingly are having a tough time handling their business.
Yes.
And this goes back to the offseason where we got to see on live TV, or it wasn't live TV, but we got to see on TV them basically letting Saquon Barkley go test the market. And I found it to be funny at the time that the GM seemed to be like proud of himself as that whole thing was going down. We fast forward to now. Saquon's running crazy in Philadelphia. They're not too long ago, first round pick, Daniel Dimes Jones has been benched and then released all within 24 hours. This organization seems like a mess.
Yeah, well, both New York organizations are a mess right now.
I got another question about the other one later.
So let's stick with the positive on this one. They're doing a nice deed. They don't have to cut him. They could wait till the end of the year, cut him, and then spread out his salary cap impact for the future. They're being nice because they still have to pay his salary. And they're saying, you know what, Danny, go ahead. Go try to find yourself a new spot where you can actually play. So they're doing him a solid by letting him go, and hopefully he can land on a team where they need a quarterback. Eyes on like the Carolina Panthers where they need a quarterback. The Cowboys, they need a quarterback. There's lots of teams where he could actually get a shot to go out there and make an impact. So they're being nice after they made this big mistake of signing my guy for 4 years, $160 million bucks.
Yes. On the other side, New York Jets, they seem to be in equally bad footing. Only this time, it's probably as much about the owner as it is the team. And so I bring you two owners that are heavily involved in their organizations. Woody Johnson of the Jets and our guy, Mr. Jones for Jerry Jones for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Is this not a great example of owners being far too involved with the actual football?
Yes,
part?
It's a beautiful example of that. These are business people. They are, and some of them are just billionaires that just happen to fall into $1 billion.
Right.
Which, and I'm all good. Go buy a team, have a blast. But those aren't people that know football. And as we could see, you got to know football to make good decisions. And that doesn't mean you have to play football, but you got to know the football. And so that's why you hire a GM that's experienced. That's why you hire a head coach that's experienced. So you can make all these decisions as a group. When you got one guy up top saying this is my way or the highway, you're going to end up in these situations. And it's not the same for everyone, but we got two great examples this year of owners that just need to kind of take a step back and open their ears to some other voices.
Greg, take us through what that poor ownership does to a locker room.
Yeah.
And how the trickle-down effect. I mean, I would imagine most players, other than a quick handshake or maybe the day they, sign their contract, never really even see the owner. But I still imagine that owners' actions trickled all the way down. You guys know what's going on, and when it's a mess, you know it's a mess.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So they say the S word flows downhill. If it starts at the top and it's flowing all the way down. But it's really about the demeanor of the team. If you have an owner that supports you, supports your coaches, let your coaches make decisions, let your GM make decisions, and it gives that autonomy all the way down, it feels better. And it's the same as any workplace.
Yeah.
Chris, when Skraby was comfortable enough texting your boss asking for a day off for you so you could attend a Thursday night football game, like that's a great situation. He feels comfortable. He's going to work harder. It's the same thing. Corporate America, it is in football. When you got an owner that's bought in, that gives people the freedom to make the right choices, to do the best for the team, to support the team, things are going to go well. Things just feel better. You're happier to work harder.
It just feels like at least that's like half. That's one thing you don't have to worry about as a team. If you got that support, you're the coaching staff's allowed to make decisions freely. Seems like that's just one of the things you check off in a very difficult, uphill battle to try to win a Super Bowl. So it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that's kind of been talked about here, especially the last few weeks, as the Colorado Buffaloes have continued to win games, is Deion Sanders following his son to wherever he goes. Now, Deion, for his credit, has said no every single time he's been asked about it. My question is, what do you think that dynamic would be like in a locker room? Because I don't know that there's ever been player, father, coach, quarterback. I would imagine there's some complications to something like that.
I would love to see it. And I'll come right back to that, but it's like LeBron and Bronny. Is that good for basketball on the court? No.
Right.
But is it fun as a fan to watch a father and his son play together like that? That's amazing. It's just a cool story. So I would love to see somebody like Deion coach his son. It's working now. And the one thing that I think could make that work is Deion doesn't sugarcoat anything.
He doesn't.
If
Not
his
even
son's
for
playing
his son.
well, he'll tell everybody.
Right.
If his son's playing bad, he will tell everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's what would make it work, because that honesty is there. And you know that if Shador's not playing well, the whole rest of the locker room sees it. As long as the head coach, dad, is keeping it real, it could work out.
Okay.
Are we going to go to a break, or are we going to...
I got to turn on my mic, guys. I'm hitting all the buttons that are wrong right now. We're going to keep going for a couple more minutes, Chris.
All right. Well, then I'll throw another couple of questions out there. Greg, as far as the Chiefs, as far as the Ravens, as far as the Steelers, although I think they might have fell back a little yesterday. Buffalo. Talk mostly about Buffalo. Right. This is a team that every year, first of all, I hate them because they always beat the Dolphins. So that's, Secondly, get that out of the way. But, Buffalo is always the team that doesn't get it done. They don't make this, they can't get through the playoffs. Yeah. They never beat Kansas City when it matters. They lose to Baltimore when it matters. Do you have any funny feeling like I do that maybe it'll just finally be their turn? Is that possible that this team is just put together better without some of the bigger names who left last year?
Yeah, the one thing that makes me optimistic about the Buffalo Bills is Josh Allen. And he is just playing with reckless abandonment. Like Rich Orenberg, who I do a TV show with on Sunday nights, loves to call him the Moose. The Moose is on the loose because that's how he runs.
He does run like a moose.
He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's fast, and he's not afraid to take some hits. Is that a great thing for the long term? Probably not. But it's a lot of fun to watch. And when it comes to playoff football and we start seeing more games like Thursday night where it's in Buffalo and it's cold and it's snowing and it's windy and somebody's got to run and go get it, Josh Allen can run and go get it. But all that being said, people are lowering the expectations of the Chiefs. Now they lost one game. It's literally one game, and they don't even have to turn it on until the playoffs. Are we worried about Travis Kelce? Not one bit.
No.
He'll be fine come the playoffs. So, Chris, so you guys were doing the sports betting, and I'm a terrible sports bettor. And
we all are.
For 20 years, I bet against Tom Brady. This is the year that he's not going to do it. I feel the same way about the
Mahomes.
Kansas City Chiefs. Like, this is the year they're not going to do it. But then, of course, that's the stupid way to do it. Until someone beats them, they're the best.
Yeah, it's becoming more difficult to kind of not see it that way. All right, last one for me. Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
They perhaps are the best team in all of football.
Yeah.
Do you think it's real? I mean, based on how it ended last year. Now, this year, the way it's set up right now, 49ers may not even get to that point.
Yeah.
And Detroit is going to be at home. They're not going to be on the road.
Yeah.
There's still a piece of me that says this is Detroit Lions, though.
I feel the same way. And it's so they keep talking about this is the best Detroit team since 1964. They've got more passing yards than 1933. And that's because it's the Detroit Lions. Like, they've never been good.
They don't have the kind of history.
Records that are terrible. And then when Dan Campbell came in as coach, we were together briefly in Miami. A nice guy, but he came in and talked about we're biting kneecaps. I saw videos of them doing up downs. I was like, this is a disaster. It's never going to work. And credit to him, it's the total opposite.
He's out there doing burpees during practice.
It looks amazing. Jared Goff is on fire.
Yeah.
Am I fully convinced that it'll roll all the way through the playoffs? I am not.
Yeah.
But you got to give them credit because they have totally turned things around. The city of Detroit loves them. They're fun to watch. It's good to see Jared Goff's career turn around.
Yeah.
But I'd be worried that when they come up against some of those juggernauts, that less experienced team may not prevail.
I think the best part about this year's NFL season so far is that it seems to be a bunch of teams like that where, it's like once you get in the playoffs, then we'll start wait for you to prove it. Baltimore's like that. Detroit's like that. Buffalo's like that. Everybody except the Chiefs are pretty much like that this year. So it's seemingly set up to be a fun finish. Greg, appreciate you coming in, spending some time with us. Thank you, girls, for coming in with your pops, allowing them to spend some time with us. We'll get to break. We'll catch up on the other side.
Appreciate you, fellas.
On Monday's show, has AJ Preller cooked anything up?
Cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit Spiro'sCuisine.com. NBA Cup Day is always on a Friday. Although my Lakers lost a stupid one last night to the Orlando Magic. Anthony Davis couldn't knock down a couple free throws, and it ended up costing us. As one of the Wagners hit a three.
I tell you, I don't know who those Wagner guys are, but they're pretty good. I mean, I hate to give them credit to the other side, but
yeah, no.
The guy on
Mo Wagner was a Laker. Lakers drafted him out of Michigan.
I think it was the other Wagner that was doing a lot of damage when I was watching.
He was the one that put the dagger in our chest yesterday as the Orlando Magic walked away with a victory on LA's home court. They were not in action for today's Cup Day, but nonetheless, a tough loss for the Lakers yesterday.
Sorry to hear that.
Before we get into some more NBA conversation, let's check a little traffic.
All right, I was going to pick this up, Tony. There was a on NBA Live, I think is the show,
Yes.
ESPN. Kendrick Perkins has become a very popular guy on that show. Honestly, I think he might be a better talk show host than he was an NBA player. He had some good moments in the NBA, playing on some good teams, but he yesterday laid on us as his viewers his list of the 5 most dominant players in NBA history. Now, I want to share the list with you because it's absolutely amazing to me what he came up with. And I want you guys, without saying names, but I just want you to put in your head some of your thoughts on who you would think are the most dominant players in NBA history. Now, I don't know that dominant means best, but it's got to at least be something like best. But I guess somebody who can take over a game like nobody else in the history of the game. So you think of some guys, and then we'll see if they wind up on the list or where they wind up on the list.
I got one immediately.
I got a couple.
Horace Grant, if Michael Jordan let him eat on a plane.
Horace Grant. All right, so here's Kendrick Perkins' list of the 5 most dominant players in NBA history. Number 5, Steph Curry. Now, I can buy Steph Curry as one of the great players. He's obviously one of the great shooters. He can take over a game if he's hitting. I'm not anti that pick, but I'm a little anti it compared to some of the players that are not on the list. Number 4, Michael Jordan. Now, I guess I'm a homer, or am I? But any list that talks about the greatest players in basketball or most dominant that doesn't even have Michael Jordan in the top 3, I think has to be questioned a little bit.
Are we distinguishing between best and dominant is my question.
That's what I don't think I am. I think he is. I want you to hear who he has ahead of Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Before you
I know who one of them is going to be.
Determine where, Jordan should be. Number 3 on his list, LeBron James. Dominant, belongs in the conversation. Number 2, threw me off, Giannis Antetokounmpo. One of the most dominant players in NBA history, ahead of LeBron, ahead of Jordan. And I was, at this point, a little bit perplexed. But I thought, at least he's going to save himself at number 1. And he's going to put the guy that scored over 50 points a game for a season. The guy that scored 100 points in a game. The guy that has scored 70 points 20 times, averaged 50 and 30 for us. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain is the most dominant player in the history, and he had to save him for number one because he hasn't put him yet in the list. His number one, Shaquille O'Neal.
I think that makes sense, honestly.
I love Shaq. I love all the guys on his list. I don't like who he left off. I don't see how you can have dominant without Wilt. I don't see how you can have dominant without Kobe Bryant, who takes over every game he ever played. And obviously, I think Jordan's probably too low just because Jordan's Jordan. Your thoughts, Mr. NBA expert, Tony Gwynn.
NBA expert, that's strong.
Yes, I'm giving you the lofty status here.
I understand Perk's top five. Although I probably would have left Steph out of it. Because although I don't necessarily think it's about taking over, it's just how you played, like the type of force you played with, right? I mean, I can see Shaq being at number one. I can't see Wilt being left off of the list. You know, I get it. Wilt was playing against a lot of people that were, 6'7", 6'8".
That's my argument.
But nonetheless, I mean, dominant is dominant. Was he not dominating the 6'7" guys, 6'7", 6'8" guys? He's still dominating them. I mean, it's not. He didn't get to hand pick his opponents and pick out the tallest dudes. Whoever they had on the squad, he was playing, and he was by definition dominating. So I don't think you could leave Wilt off of that list. Michael deserves to be on the list. I mean, you can only replace one of those guys. I don't disagree with Giannis. I don't disagree with Shaq. Who do you have at 3?
LeBron.
It's hard. It's hard to leave him off the list. Steph is the only one. And listen, Kobe, as you said, deserves a nod. But the only one that I would replace would be Steph Curry, and I would replace him with Wilt, and I would reshuffle that. I would probably have Shaq 1, Wilt 2. You'd probably make the argument Wilt 1, Shaq 2. But those two, based on the way they dominated their era, have to be 1, 2. Giannis is probably like 5 on my list. And then Michael's 3rd. Who was the other one in there missing?
LeBron.
And LeBron's probably 4th.
Well, here's my...
I just think that the
Shaq
dominant
was an
part,
incredible force of nature, and I think Skraby's point, it would be something you have to think about. Shaq was dominating against other guys that were 7 foot too.
Right.
I mean, he was bigger than them. But I ask you this, there's no way to know: who would have scored more, Shaq versus Wilt or Wilt versus Shaq? It's a little unfair because we've seen all the highlights of Shaq. All we've ever seen is Wilt of him just going up over 7 foot guys and dunking the basketball. But I don't know. I mean, Shaq is almost nearly impossible to stop.
Yes. Shaq would have been an alien if he was back in Wilt Chamberlain's days.
He really would have been. Because, listen, I think what we tend to forget is that the new era is the old era, but has some of the same things as the old, but more refined. And that's all Shaq was compared to Wilt. Yeah, Wilt was backing cats down and kind of no-look dunking over on him as he was backing him down. Shaq he didn't care. And as you said, he was doing it against guys his size. He was putting them in the rim with the ball a lot of time. I watched him almost I can't remember whose wrist it was. Someone was bold enough to try to block his two-handed dunk and literally almost got their wrist broke into the basket.
Wilt Chamberlain never collapsed an entire standard.
2 of them.
Which Shaq did more than one occasion.
They had to build new rims with different safety things because he was destroying them all.
Yes, he was.
So, yeah, I think Shaq, for me, I'm fine with that being one. But Wilt, I think you're right. Wilt can't be left off of that list. I don't care if he was playing against dudes who were shorter. And you just can't put him in. I don't think you can put him there over Steph Curry. Or Steph Curry over him.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it caught my eye immediately when I saw Jordan 4th because everybody thinks if you're talking dominant, great, Jordan's always number 1. And I think it's fair that he's not always number one.
Yeah.
He wasn't the greatest at every single thing. He was the greatest at most of it. But when you talk about being a force of nature, Jordan wasn't physically a force of nature like those other guys.
I think that's the one thing that I think everybody loves about Michael. When he talks about this subject, he doesn't forget the likes of a Wilt Chamberlain or those guys that came before him, which is why he doesn't really delve into this conversation of who's better.
Yeah,
he
right.
finds it disrespectful to the guys who played before
Convenient
him.
excuse, Mr. Jordan.
I mean,
Look, Jordan has always known how to please everybody. As he said one time famously, Republicans buy Nikes also.
That's right. He did say that.
He's
I remember
always
that.
been able to do that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's kind of something, it's always fun to kick that stuff around. And I just, when I saw the list, I thought I had to bring it up to you guys. So,
It's a good conversation for sure. I think, because of Twitter, like this debate happens probably more often than we need it to happen. Like it used to just be occasionally, but on Twitter, it's like
debate.
24-hour debate time on Twitter. So,
I'm not over the who's more. It's the who's the GOAT. I'm over that.
I'm glad you said it, Chris. You know what really is starting to bother me is the whole notion behind my GOAT. That's not
GOAT?
That's not the definition.
No,
of
there's
it.
actually one GOAT.
There is the greatest of all time, not my greatest of all time. That's just your favorite player.
Exactly.
That's not the same thing as GOAT.
Yes.
I hate that. That's a cop out to me when you say,
that's
"Well,
a good
my
call.
GOAT is Paul
My
George."
GOAT-
No, that's your favorite player.
That's dumb.
We used to all be able to kind of have some what's the word I'm looking for? We used to be able to tell things like truthfully and like have even if it was your favorite guy, you still could tell the truth and be like, all right, he may not be the best guy.
I do that all the time.
How about University of Connecticut the other night bringing an actual goat out onto the floor?
That was a little much, but it was kind of funny at the same time.
That's funny. I like the way that his girls on that team, the women on that team, joke with Gino. They seem to be able to poke fun at him as well for such a guy who's such a hard-nosed coach like that.
On the chat real quick, Addicted to Fishing says his 5 are Stockton, Jordan, Russell, Jabbar, and Chamberlain. Bill Russell?
I can't Jabbar for sure. I can't get with John Stockton. I don't know how he was the dominant. He was one of the
He's
greatest.
the best assist guy in history.
He sure is. I don't know that it's dominant.
All right.
But, that's the beauty of these things. You get your own. You get my list versus
the
list.
Tony's list. All right, Chris is going to head to Aztecs Women's. We're going to play Tony
Good
versus
luck,
the
Chris.
Fans when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Skraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. 4th hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
Sasquatch. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Skraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
Sasquatch.
So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Skraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
Sasquatch.
So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making.
With my what?
4:01 on the clock. We got Cub coverage. Indeed. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby here, Gwynn and Chris. Yes, indeed. We are having a good old time. Greg Camarillo, our old friend, came and joined us. Talked a little NFL. We had Chris for 2 hours today. He's off to
gallivanting in Bakersfield.
In Bakersfield, gallivanting. Does anybody gallivant in Bakersfield?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How do you get through the weekend in Bakersfield? I don't even know what gallivanting means.
I don't know either. You should try and check the definition of that. We got a Gwynn versus the fans.
Okay, here it is already.
Give me gallivant.
Gallivant is an informal verb that means to travel, roam, or move about for pleasure, often with few worries or responsibilities. That is Chris.
I'm sure there's a lot of gallivanting then in Bakersfield.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes, there is. Chris, one of them right now. I can just see him skipping down the street right now.
Nonetheless, did we tell it? I'm pretty sure we did, but I have a very short-term memory problem here. Did we tell everybody about our schedules? I think Chris did.
We did. Yeah, we did. We're going to be off on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I actually, Wednesday it's weird. I don't really like Thanksgiving, Tony, and it's not about like.
What?
I'm just not a Thanksgiving food guy.
It's not supposed. Thanksgiving, by the way, is not about the food. It's about the family.
That's the other part I don't like because I have to spend time with the family. No, my brother and my sister-in-law. My brother's a firefighter. My sister-in-law is in emergency services, so they have to work on Thursday. So my mom had this great idea. I hope she's not listening right now because she's gonna be very upset. She had this great idea that we're gonna do Thanksgiving on Wednesday. And I was like, what? I'm working
That's actually
that day.
not Thanksgiving.
I know. I was working. And I go, Mom, I'm working that day. And she was like, and so then I dropped this, Tony. I think I told you this.
Oh, yes. This is certainly a comment that comes from someone that has siblings, specifically younger siblings.
Yes, it was. Well, it's cool that you care about Eric's schedule, but you don't care about my schedule.
You're such a child, dude.
And I said it in like... Because I'm not that
you
crazy
don't even need
anymore.
to explain how you said it. I can hear you saying it right now.
As I'm walking away, just like, well, glad you took care of Eric's schedule, but you don't pay attention to mine.
I hope your brother's listening right now.
I hope he is too. I hope he is too, because he hasn't heard any of this. But yeah, so we're doing Thanksgiving on Wednesday, which is like, what do I do on Thursday? I guess watch football without all the worries.
Yeah, it will. I think everybody will be able to watch football without any worries.
Well, there's no because Thanksgiving.
Let me ask you a question. What time?
Typically,
what time does your family sit down to eat?
Like 2 or 3. Sometime like around the middle of the Cowboy game. Usually.
Yeah, that's always the plan.
Yeah,
every Thanksgiving.
What about you? I mean, it doesn't happen?
It never happens.
Where do you go?
2 o'clock is always the goal. It can vary. I've had dinner at 2, 5.
Oh man,
6. And it used when you were younger, you used to wait all day to eat. Like you're I'm starving, and then by the time you get there, your stomach shrank. It's eating itself. You're not even hungry at that point.
I can't imagine eating Thanksgiving at 5.
Yeah, no. The goal this year is 2 o'clock. Again,
what's your plans? Just
we are actually mini hosting. My sister's not coming down, so she'll be back east, but. An uncle, a couple cousins,
nice.
My mom, so yeah, it's a little bigger than normal. I mean, 6 for us is the norm for us. That's our family, or normal 6, but a few more people, it'll be fun.
Thanksgiving, maybe I don't like it because it's always been like 50 to 75 people in my family.
That used to be what it was.
Okay.
When my dad was around, that was everybody came to the house to kind of do Thanksgiving. It's changed a little bit over the years, but yeah, I recognize the kind of angst that having the big Thanksgiving can give you.
And my grandma just did it every year.
My grandma did it every year. They didn't even want help, by the way.
Diego Drip first says, I'm thankful for this show, 97.3. We're thankful for you, Diego Drip. He says they also eat at like 8 p.m., but this year they're going to try to make it happen earlier.
Definitely. 8 o'clock might be a little late, but I've definitely gotten to that 6:30 range before back in the day as well. But
Nate says, is Tony doing ox tongue this year?
Not tongue.
It's oxtail.
Definitely. I don't know what ox tongue is, but oxtail will be in play once again. It's in play every Thanksgiving.
Here's another great point by TRM1. Nobody actually ever sits down at a table. We all graze and or park on the couch all afternoon.
That's true. Now, my mom was a stickler for that. Making sure people were sitting down, not standing up and kind of hovering and eating. Because, with football games going at our house back in the day, that if it wasn't no ground rules laid down, that's exactly how dinner would have taken place. Around the football, around the basketball, whatever was on that time, it's usually how it would go. So
I can't. Yeah, I used to get so mad when they would do dinner in the middle of the Cowboys game, and
Why? You don't like the Cowboys?
No, when I was a kid, I'm still kind of psycho about football. I'll watch any game, and I wanted to watch every single minute of those games, and it doesn't really matter. The Cowboys games always kind of stink anyway.
Yeah.
This year it's Tommy Cutlets and Cooper Rush.
That's gonna be a doozy.
That's gonna be a doozy.
Tommy Cutlets. He's gonna sling it around a little bit. All right, let's play some Gwynn versus the Fan.
Shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself.
Howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the Fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Real quick, Tony, a question from Alejandro. Where do you get your oxtail from?
I think I went to Iowa Meat Farms last year.
I've never heard of it.
What?
Yeah.
See, if you went to San Diego State, you know about
why.
Because that's where a lot of people go to get whatever they're going to grill. Well, back in the day when you used to go to Qualcomm and grill out before the game.
Okay. That's cool.
It's one of the spots you go to.
Man, Qualcomm's
great carne
tailgates.
asada there.
We brought it up like a week ago, but the tailgates before Aztec games were just
It was
amazing.
built for tailgating.
It was.
I mean,
it really was.
That's what I do miss about the old stadiums, is that they built the stadiums, I feel like, with that in mind. Like, they just wanted a gang of parking, which only leads to tailgating.
To tailgating and people going and paying for parking. But now it's like, let's save space. We don't want anyone tailgating in our parking lot.
You guys will figure park it out. We just need the stadium.
We're going to price out the yokels that tailgate. So, all right. We still have a few lines open. 833-288-0973 to play Tony and Gwynn versus the fans. The rules, you have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Tony gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Tony gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player, let us know before you get into it, and you'll get the first question for free. Chris versus the fans, or Gwynn versus the fans, whatever is being played, is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. Now, I need to read the prize. You will be qualified for a chance to win the grand prize. A 2-night stay at Westgate, Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Soul of Motown, and $150 food and beverage credit. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations. Also, the award-winning Soul of Motown is a high-energy concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. Tickets at westgateresorts.com. All right, let's get our first contestant. Got to do a little finagling on my dock to make sure.
Do your finagling.
I'm doing
meaning
Windows button right key. There we go. It moves everything to the right automatically. Let's go with our first contestant, Javi.
What's
Hello,
up, Javi? Jinx.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Pretty
Going
good.
well.
Pretty good. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Who was the winning quarterback in last night's Thursday night football game?
Jameis, the preacher Winston.
That dude.
By the way,
he needs to be a preacher.
Jameis is probably one of the most unintentionally funny people on the planet.
Did you see the before the game interview?
Did I see it? Of course I saw. First of all, he looked genuinely excited to be playing in a snow game at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He was pumped.
He was like, this is football weather.
He was like getting lost.
We're blessed for this.
Right. I love Winston, man. That dude is just so positive all the time, even when he shouldn't be.
Was there a point where he became this guy, or has he always been this guy?
I think he's always been this guy. It's just been a little maturity has been mixed in on top of it. He was this guy and immature at times before. Now it seems like the maturity part is kind of kicked in, and this is like a better product.
I loved when his battery pack in his helmet fell out, and he was just like, hey, he was like holding me. He's like, I can't hear. Oh, wait, I can hear. And the battery pack is just hanging over my eyes right now. All right, good stuff. Javi, here is question number 2. Who won NFL Defensive Player of the Year last season?
Nick Bosa.
I wish it was Nick Bosa.
This was part of the reason why my man for Cleveland was talking the way he was talking after the game. What's the defense?
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett.
He loves dinosaurs.
He loves. He's another interesting character.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
But not as interesting as Jameis.
No, not at all. I think it's T.J. Watt is the answer. But this is while Myles Garrett was kind of talking about being the guy for, best defensive player, best defensive end, sack guy. He was pointing out, by the way, both guys have tremendous amount of respect, it seems, for each other.
Yeah.
But T.J. Watt was the winner last year.
He was. And I think Myles Garrett has a good opportunity to win this year.
He does.
Because he was all over the place last night.
I don't know if they released first, second, third place votes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was second in that voting last year.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. All right, let's go to our next contestant, Victor. Hello, Victor.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. You ready to play?
Oh yeah, ready.
All right. What were the Washington Wizards named before they became the Wizards?
They were the Bullets.
The Bullets is correct.
Nice.
Honestly, that could be a number 2 question because it's
not
been
easy.
so long since
it's
that
been
happened.
a little bit.
All right, so here we go, Victor. Question number 2. This, I think, is going to be really tough. This might even be a question number 3, but I'm going to ask it anyway. There are 2 names that are tied for tallest player in NBA history. Both were 7 foot 7 inches tall.
I'll give you another clue. Both played for the same organization, too.
Oh, so Tony already knows who these people are. Name both, Victor.
Name both of the tallest players.
Is this a name one of 2, you think,
This
Tony?
is probably a name one of 2.
Okay, let's name one of
I know
2.
Yao Ming, and I know it's not Yao Ming, though.
Don't say his name, then.
And the second, I'm not sure. Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry about that, Victor. We're going to have to go to Tony, and Tony already knows apparently.
Yeah, I do, because I'm a basketball nut. Manute Bol was one, and I believe George Mirasan was the other.
Correct. Manute Bol. I saw him play when he played for the Warriors, and it amazed me.
Now, his son
Dude's
is in the
shooting
league
three.
right now. Bol.
Is he any good?
He's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
What team does he play for?
I think he's still with the Suns.
Let me look up Bol. He is, Suns. And he was an Oregon Duck. He's 7'3".
Yeah. He was doing, and to Shaq's credit, he pointed this out a while ago. He said that Wembanyama was just a more consistent Bol. And he turned out to be right. Bol had some games like that last year, but he just doesn't do it on a close to nightly basis.
Who do you think was better, Manute or George Mirasan?
Oh, you know what's funny? Ironically, I can't remember any of their games, like how good they were.
I just remember the one I went to.
Manute Bol was a little bit, I was super young. George Mirasan was, playing around a time where I think I could remember something, but I don't really remember both of those guys. I don't remember their games per se.
Hold on.
Are you getting questioned right now?
I'm being told, no, not about the height, but about the... Oh. Wait.
About the what?
The Defensive Player of the Year.
What?
Didn't they say it all last night that T.J. Watt was coming off winning Defensive Player of the Year?
Was that not correct?
Defensive Player of the Year went to Myles Garrett.
Oh, I guess we got that one wrong. I thought it was T.J. Watt too.
I mean, I thought they said it like 100 times last
night.
I didn't even look it up because
I wasn't going off of last night. I was going off what I thought happened last year. But maybe Myles. You know what? As I look at it right now, Myles Garrett is correct. So.
Well, now you look at it.
It's not my job to look. It's your job.
I was just going off of what they said on TV, but I heard it wrong, apparently. T.J. Watt.
Did my man guess Myles Garrett, by the way?
I don't know.
I don't think he did.
I don't remember.
You got this game in a conundrum right now.
We gotta keep going.
It's 4:16, by the way.
I know. 4:16. We gotta go tiebreaker.
Okay.
I'm really upset.
How
with
about
myself
George
right
Mirasan,
now.
since we're on the subject?
Okay, sure. I'm really upset with myself on that one. Really.
To be fair, I thought
myself.
it was T.J. Watt too, but you're supposed to tell me that I'm wrong, not right. So that's on you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. All right, tiebreaker. I kind of want to go hide in a hole right now. I feel really stupid.
Everybody's watching you right now.
I know, and I'm turning red. Can you see me turning red? If you ever want to watch us on YouTube, just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan. You'll see my face bright red right now because I feel like I'm a good football guy, and I got it wrong.
Yeah, you're not a good football guy, apparently.
Okay, let's go to David.
David, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, guys.
David, are you familiar with the tiebreaker?
Absolutely.
All right. George Mirasan, buddy.
Yes, thank you. Easy Money says, Skraby, it happens. It's not your fault.
It is his fault. Don't tell him that, Easy Money.
Man. See, Easy Money is
good. Easy Money, don't lie to him.
Hey.
Don't lie to him.
I already am going to take this one home with me tonight and all weekend. I hate when stuff happens on Friday because I think about it all weekend. All right, George Mirasan, David, I'm going to put you down here for a second. Wow, I didn't realize he only played 6 years.
Yeah, he didn't play very long.
All right, let's go with this question. How many blocks did George Mirasan have in his career?
250.
250. David, is the actual answer higher or lower?
I'm going to go with higher.
Higher. You are correct. Get me out of this game as fast as possible. Stay right there, David. He had 455 blocks. That's basically what he did.
He was a shot blocker.
Let's see what his career average for points was. 9.8.
Yeah, he wasn't much of a scorer.
No.
All right, let's get to break. On the other side, the Tampa Bay Rays have a bit of an issue with
worse.
A new stadium, and it does not look well. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
Here's
some traffic.
From the
the debacle of the Gwynn versus the fans? Some wrong answers can make a segment go sour very quickly.
I don't care about me and my embarrassment. I do care if I messed up the player, which I don't even remember who they guessed.
TJ Watt. Oh, who did they guess?
Yeah. Did they say Myles Garrett?
I hope they didn't.
I hope they didn't either. If you
did. Chat, tell us. I know you
guys
guys remember.
If you're out there, contestant, and you're angry with me, I understand. Just give us a call and tell me that I got the Defensive Player of the Year wrong, and we'll get you on.
Yeah, that's all he can do for you, because the whole getting signed up for that grand prize, can't do it. You already lost it. So you can take that on Skraby as well when you call back.
I will give you a spot in the tournament one more time.
Oh, man. All right. Cheese, before we went to break, Tampa Bay Rays. Could be some trouble. Before we get to that little trade that went down.
Yes, we're looking at all the tender, non-tender stuff. The Padres tendered a contract to Tyler Wade for $900,000. A trade went down, though, between the Reds and the Royals. And I actually thought about this guy for the Padres, but I never brought it up because I didn't think they would acquire him. Jonathan India going to Kansas City with Joey Wiemer, and the Reds get KC pitcher Brady Singer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm straight. From my standpoint of if I would want Jonathan India.
Yep.
I like our team, the guys we have better. I think this goes back to what we talked about when Chris asked, well, why wouldn't they just not offer him a contract? Reds clearly knew that they were looking to move India, but they didn't just let him walk away for free. They tendered him the contract. He's still arbitration eligible. So he'll go to the Royals now. He'll be arbitration eligible there, and then they can, work out whatever deal they want. But you need the leverage by tendering the tendering him the contract so that you can then make a trade, as we saw the Reds do here.
Cesar reminded us who he guessed, and thankfully it wasn't TJ Watt.
Okay.
It was Nick Bosa.
Okay. Woo! You lucky, buddy.
Yes,
You're
am
lucky. You didn't cost
yes.
him an actual shot.
Yes.
You just had more misinformation. It's all good, though.
So that is the trade between the Royals and the Reds. I've been looking to see if the Padres have been able to, if there's any more news out about the Padres, but nothing yet.
Trust
the deadline
me,
is 5
if
p.m.
If the Padres had decided not to non-tender those
know.
guys, we would definitely know. And
so what we're finding out, the deadline for the Padres and all of Major League Baseball to send a tender contract to these guys is 5 p.m. today.
Right.
We're finding out who has accepted those.
Exactly.
And the tender, the acceptance of a tender deal is like a different deadline.
Well, the arbitration hearings. So once they tender the contract and to whatever player, now they have between that time. And sometime, I don't know if you guys remember last year, guys were going to their arbitration hearings like as spring training was already underway. So all the way up probably through February that they'll have a chance to come to a midpoint, an agreement, so that they don't actually have to go to the arbitration hearing. Because we know in the arbitration hearing, feelings can get hurt because the team is trying to keep your price tag down. The player is trying to get his price tag up. So it's in really both interests to try to come to an agreement so there's no hard feelings that could get rubbed the wrong way.
Yeah, but they have a little bit to decide the player whether or not they want to accept that.
Right.
Okay.
No, player does not have a.
Sorry,
they do not have a chance. Do have a choice in accepting the tender.
I'll keep it straight. Okay. I've said that twice today. I am spiraling out of control right now. Everybody forgive me, okay? I'm spiraling. The Rays.
The Rays. Okay, so the Rays are experiencing what I think we have become used to as it pertains, especially here in San Diego. Maybe not with the baseball team, but certainly with the football team that left. Team and city have to be on the same page to make this work. And it certainly seems like in Tampa, that is not the case.
Not the case.
The hurricane came through, destroyed that stadium. They've already figured out where they're going to play this season coming up. There was a counseling meeting. I think it was
There's
something.
been a bunch of meetings between the team and the city as of late. City of St. Petersburg.
City County of St. Petersburg initially agreed on whatever money it was needed to fix the stadium.
They were going to put we're just talking about fixing the stadium,
right?
That was just damaged.
Right, because remember a couple days ago they decided that
they
whatever
were pay
bonds
for the new stadium,
right, were going to be put on hold.
Yes.
So this is a whole nother situation. This is just about the stadium they currently reside in. And they initially said that they were going to come up with the funds to pay for it. And then within minutes, they decided that that was not going to be the case. Now, apparently this has implications not only for the old stadium, but also the new stadium. That is going to be pushed back as well. And now all of a sudden remember, this Tampa Bay thing was a dumpster fire at first, and it seemed to had all come to a head and they had figured things out. It's back in the dumpster fire category, apparently.
It certainly is back in the dumpster fire category. I feel bad for Rays fans. They just want to see their baseball teams, kind of like A's fans. But Rays fans haven't left yet, or the Rays haven't left yet, so they still got their team. But I'm telling you, Major League Baseball has to help somehow.
They want, it's in Major League's best interest to not have have this go as bad as it looks like it's going.
Do
right
they
now.
want two teams playing in minor league fields? That's what they're going to have next year.
They're going to, and you know, I think it has tentacles a lot longer. Remember, we talked about the collective bargaining agreement coming up. I promise you, that place in Sacramento, in terms of the players and visiting teams, it's going to be an issue, at least in the beginning. Hopefully, after some work, they'll get it right. But initially, I promise you, it's going to be a headache. In the same way that it's probably going to be, and probably a little bit lesser, because, as I explained a couple days ago, the Yankee spring training facility is at least it's handled big leaguers.
It's got money
for
involved in
at least a month out of the year every season, or 2 months out of the season every year. So it doesn't look good in Tampa right now, and I'm sure this is the last thing Rob Manfred really wants to be dealing with. He thought this was the one that was done. Now both of them, the A's and Rays, are back on his problem child table.
Yes, they are. And I like to see Rob Manfred, as Jesse said, put his little thinking cap on.
The visual.
The visual is great, of him putting a thinking cap on, like a cap with a light bulb or something. But yeah, the Rays are in trouble.
All right, let's get to break. On the other side, a Big Five on deck.
The biggest.
The clock, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. Got a big 5 on deck headed your way. First, let's check traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Several things going on here, guys. One of them is collision blocking the left lanes, South 805 past La Jolla Village Drive. Emergency crews on scene. Not far from the border, San Isidro on-ramp to southbound 805, a collision. Also South 5 at Camino de la Plaza, collision over the right shoulder. We still have this crash in the Kelton off-ramp, westbound King Freeway. And if you're traveling north on the 5 past Old Town, watch out for what looks like some metal furniture in the slow lane. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car. Usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, well, I think we got some pretty interesting topics in the Big Five today. I'm sure you guys will let me know if I'm wrong as we go through all of this, but I think we'll start with this one.
Number 5.
And it's about the Baltimore...
Are we fighting over the nicknames of baseball teams today?
No, we are not, because there are many animals in the baseball world that don't hold a candle to like a Diamondback or something like that. But good question, Chris. Good question. I will have to come up with something over the weekend. We were talking about the Orioles, though, because they're doing something that Michael Kay is going to be very, very happy about, and they're going to bring in their left field wall, and they're going to also make it shorter. According to reports, some areas are going to be pulled in as much as 20 feet and others 11 or at a maximum of 9 feet. A rendering shows the wall lowered from 13 feet to 13 feet to 8 feet. The Orioles did say they maybe went a little bit too far the first time with their left field renovation, but they wanted to find a better happy medium. Now, Petco Park over the years has undergone some transitions with their fences. So, Chris, would you want to see any part of Petco Park's outfield changed?
I don't think so. I think the renovations they made have worked out pretty well. I think Petco Park is honestly one of the fairest hitting parks in baseball. I know you talked about Michael Kay, and he's the voice of the Yankees.
Yes.
And I can understand why he would want the fences moved in, because the Yankees live and die by the home run, and that is something that they take great advantage of at Yankee Stadium, which has the smallest, shortest left field, shortest right field porch for sure in all of baseball. And I read a lot of reports last year that, I don't know, dozens of Aaron Judge's home runs would not have been home runs in other ballparks, including Baltimore, right? So, you know, I can maybe see why he wants to move them in, but I like a home run to still mean something. So keep Petco the way it is.
All right, Tony, would you want to see any part of Petco's outfield changed?
No. I mean, we're talking the Judges and the Sotos. They're not hitting wall scrapers most of the time. There might be a handful of homers that, may make a difference. I think a place like Baltimore, which has kind of notoriously been super shallow early, and then kind of they built up a bigger wall to kind of answer for the short homers they were giving up. I think most teams I think ballparks in general are moving to a more fair stance than maybe they were during the steroid era, where it seemed like the wall fences were getting closer and balls were flying out faster or at a heavier pace. So no, I don't need to see Petco changed at all. I think, as Chris said, the changes that were made were changes to make it more fair. Remember, Petco Park was a graveyard for a long, long time, and then the skyline changed. They brought the walls in, and now we have a much fairer ballpark.
It's very weird how all that makes.
I know, right?
It makes a difference.
There is some science involved in it.
Yes, absolutely.
Number 4.
Now, Shohei Ohtani won his third MVP yesterday unanimously and his first MVP in the National League. He won the AL MVP award in 2021 and 2023, both unanimously when he played for the Angels. He's the first player in Major League history to win the MVP award unanimously more than once. He also joins Frank Robinson as the only players to win the award in both leagues. So, Tony, is there anything else he has to prove in his career, Shohei Ohtani?
Not necessarily, but this game is all about longevity and how consistent you can be in that time. And so, as however long he ends up playing, if he continues to play at a level that he's been playing at, he's going to go down as one of the greatest, maybe the greatest player ever. But I think it does fall, or else you'll have to throw the caveat like, in this stretch of time, he was the greatest. I mean, if you want to eliminate that, it's got to be for almost the full length that you play, that you are a highly productive player.
Chris, what do you think? Is there anything left for Shohei Ohtani to prove?
I mean, how many Cy Youngs does the guy have? Come on. I mean,
I think the answer is 0.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the matter with this guy? He doesn't have a lot to prove, but I agree with Tony 100%. If Shohei Ohtani retired tomorrow, would he automatically go into the Hall of Fame because he's been dominant for 4 or 5 years? I don't know that he's honestly done enough, to warrant an immediate inclusion in the Hall of Fame. Now, maybe he had the greatest 4 or 5 year stretch of any player, but I think he's got to do it for longer if he wants to ascend to the all-time. So I think he does still have stuff to prove. He's got to keep doing this for much more time.
Well, I think he needs to go 70-70 or
he needs to create his own another new club for himself.
Yes, that's what he needs
to do.
He's
too lonely in the other one. He wants to be even lonelier in 70-70.
He doesn't even have his dog Decoy with him in the 50-50 club. So
yeah, sorry Decoy.
Sorry,
you didn't do it.
Decoy always makes himself the center of attention, which I'm all for because dogs should be the center of attention.
Or we make Decoy the center of attention. Decoy just could be doing what dogs do, and that's
do we actually believe that Decoy is his dog, or is it just a plant?
I don't. I'm not even going to address that.
I think a better question is Libby Dunn really Paul Skeen's girlfriend, or is she just a fan?
No, I believe that. I believe that they're together. I do.
Wow.
George Pickens has had some ups in his career, and he's also had some downs in his career. There have been things on the field. There have been things off the field. This one is on the field. Last night during the Thursday Night Football game, Russell Wilson heaved a Hail Mary, and instead of trying to catch the ball, he was fighting with a Browns defender in the back of the end zone. After the game, he said, quote, the conditions played a huge part in today's game. I don't really think the Cleveland Browns are a good team at all, end quote. But my question is this. Chris, is this different from Bears defender Tyreek Stevenson talking trash to the fans instead of defending the eventual winning Hail Mary for the Commanders?
Well, I know what you're talking about, and I saw the replay, obviously, a few times as best I could looking through the snow. The defender on the play really did a great job of kind of boxing him out.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Denzel Ward.
He got between Pickens and where the ball was going to land, and he kind of just rooted him out of the back of the end zone. Now, whether or not that could be considered pass interference or not might be another matter, but I thought it was just a really good job by the defender. Pickens really had no choice but to try to grab hold of him and work his way back to the football. He just couldn't do it, and I think that's one of the reasons he was so upset after the game, and he ended up getting into a little skirmish over by the stands, and thankfully, cooler heads prevailed because I could see George Pickens starting to throw punches with fans, and that wouldn't be a great look. But his comment that the Browns are a terrible football team just proves how dumb George Pickens can be because they play the Browns in 2 weeks. And I just, for any athlete to say something like that about an upcoming opponent just is, it seems silly to me, but that's George Pickens for you.
So you're saying it's different from what Tyreek Stevenson did?
Oh, yeah, I never answered your question, did I?
No.
I do. I think he was honestly wanted to make an effort. I think the other guy made a better play. I mean, the guy in Chicago was just being an idiot. I mean, an idiot throughout the whole play. George Pickens didn't pick up being an idiot until he went to to fight with the fans.
Tony, is this different from Tyreek Stevenson?
Yeah, it's not the same. Tyreek Stevenson was not participating in the play as the play was going. And then he ends up tipping the ball up to allow his team to lose. So that's different. As Chris said, Pickens was involved. He wanted to make the play. Probably frustrated that the play went down the way it did. Him and that corner had been tussling, really been all game long.
Yes.
And so, frustration. The Steelers boxed a couple opportunities, and I'm sure all that played into it. And I think as Chris said, it's probably best that cooler heads prevailed, because if it would have stayed out there longer, I'm sure George would have continued down the path he was on. As for his comments, I mean, I think they're more stupid because they just lost to that terrible team, as opposed to him playing it.
Played the part.
They definitely did. I definitely believe the conditions definitely played a part, but nonetheless, his statement
played a part for everybody on the field.
Right, his statement is true. The Cleveland Browns are a bad team, but you don't get to say it when you just got beat by them.
All right. Whoops.
What is going on here?
Didn't mean to hit that one. Sorry about that, everybody. ESPN is giving...
User error.
Yes, user error indeed. ESPN is giving the former Philadelphia Eagles star Jason Kelce and current Monday Night Countdown analyst his own late-night show, which will debut in January in Philly. They're going to call it... They call it Late Night with Jason Kelce. It's going to air on ESPN at 1 a.m. during the Friday-Saturday overnight hours. It's going to start January 3rd, January 4th. It will also stream on ESPN Plus and on the ESPN app. And Jason Kelce is also going to put it on his YouTube channels. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. No one cares. Significantly expanding its reach. ESPN has picked up 5 episodes of the show, with the last episode slated for February 1st. So, Tony, will you check this show out?
Yes, I probably will check this out.
Really?
I like Jason Kelce. I think that he is I think he comes off as very authentic. I think he's funny. And I think as a lot of guys who are leaders of teams, they probably have something to say that, we could maybe pull from a little bit at some point. I think he's a great storyteller too, more importantly, which, when you're putting on a show like this, you gotta be able to do a little bit. I'll give him a few episodes to check it out, and if I would love to support Jason Kelce.
Okay, Chris, are you gonna check it out?
What time did you say it airs?
It airs 24/7 on ESPN Plus and ESPN app, but it airs actually at 1 a.m. on Friday night.
It's a little late for me, but...
No, it's not. I've seen emails come in at like 12:30 with good, bad, ugly. It's not too late for you.
I might be able to wake up in the middle of the night and catch the end of the show. I just don't know if I can stay awake to see the beginning of it. I think this is an interesting idea. I mean, look, the networks have all had the late night shows and had great success with them, right? I mean, from Johnny Carson to Leno to Letterman to... what you have today, Jimmy Kimmel and everybody. ESPN's never had a show like this. At least I expect it to be similar to one of those late night talk shows.
It is. He's going to have a band and everything.
Have a little band and have some sports personalities and celebrities come out and do interviews and have some crazy sketches. So, I think it's about the only thing ESPN hasn't really done yet. So I like it, and I think he's a good choice to be the guinea pig and see how it works out.
You guys are disgusting me with your positivity over here.
Wow, you are
you just totally? Yeah, what are you just anti this whole idea? I mean,
no, I never said anything about that. I'm going to, if people want to enjoy this, people can enjoy this. I have no problems with Jason Kelce.
But you're on us for our opinions because
you guys were like, "Oh, this is the greatest idea I've ever heard."
That's not what we said. That's not what we said. That's what you heard, but it's not what we actually said.
The greatest idea in the entire universe.
No, it does not beat sliced bread, but it's close. It's close.
All right, we'll see about that.
Number 1.
Now, this is a me topic, but we talked about Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 ball being displayed in Taiwan. And since today is the 61st year since JFK was assassinated, I saw this piece of memorabilia, I guess. Can you have memorabilia from an assassination?
I don't want it.
Floating around. It's not from the assassination, but I wanted to know if you guys think it's different. It's a ticket to the final thing that JFK ever did, a breakfast at Hotel Texas that morning at 8 a.m. There's not many tickets left, and so this has been, there's one out there that's in mint condition. Are you guys curious to know what he had for breakfast that morning?
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Yes, thank you for asking.
We've come this far.
5-minute egg. This is exactly how his valet ordered it. 5-minute egg boiled, crisp bacon, orange juice fresh, coffee with hot milk. He wants hot milk with preference to cream, toast with butter on the side, and he particularly wants orange marmalade.
This was long before my time, but I knew there was something about JFK that him and I were on the same page. Crispy bacon, that's you can't have the bologna bacon out there. You know what I'm saying?
The limp bacon.
Don't want limp bacon.
I believe
Crispy.
that Jackie Kennedy asked for his bacon to be broiled instead of fried or whatever they used.
That was what they did. Probably just try to stay a little healthy at that point.
Could
broiled.
I say all this, guys, to ask this, Chris. Is there a piece of history out there that you would like to see? We talked about the 50. You guys wouldn't want to do it, but we never talked about one particular thing that you would want to see.
Yes, like a historical thing. I will say, well, first of all, that I am a JFK fan.
And conspiracy theorist, yes.
Conspiracy, or whether it is a conspiracy or wasn't a conspiracy. And I got to tell you guys, I don't think there's a piece of that history that I would want to actually have and own. And I've talked about this before with the Ohtani ball. To me, stuff is stuff.
Right.
And so, I don't have a ton of interest in that. But having said that, I did, on a trip to Dallas one time, go to Daley Plaza, and where the assassination took place. And I walked down the road, I think it's Elm Street or Oak or something of that nature, the street where he was driving and actually was shot. And I went and walked to about as close as where I could imagine his car was when that happened. And I got to tell you guys, it was one of the freakiest couple of minutes of my entire life. Just standing there where that historical moment took place. So to say that all of this stuff has no effect on me would be inaccurate. But as far as, actual items from it, I've just never been a fan.
Well, I think you did answer the question. That is kind of a piece of history, that point in time. I think, don't they even have an X on the street where it happened, or did they remove that?
I don't know, but I think Chris is what he's saying, though, points out to what we had talked about a few weeks back, which is stuff is stuff, but if you can put me in the spot or maybe give me that memory, that's a little bit different. Just having, a ticket of what he ordered.
It was a ticket to the breakfast, not his like.
I missed his order.
Not the cook thing.
I got you. Either one. That just becomes stuff. But Chris was moved not because of some stuff, but because he was in the particular place where it happened. So I just think that's completely different. To answer your question, no.
Okay, jeez. Rain on all of our parades.
Well, you said we were being too positive, so I wanted to instantly go the other way.
I can't. Beggars can't be choosers.
No, they cannot.
But yes, that's a place I really want to see one day, Chris. Is the Plaza.
Yeah, it's an experience, and if you've read, and you remember I did the podcast last year that
Rob Reiner.
You and I talked about, and I've read so many books about the whole JFK, and I think a lot of people have. So to actually be there where it happened, it's quite a feeling, I will say.
All right, that's it for the final Big Five of the week. When we get back, tender, non-tender, deadline is happening for baseball. We'll update you when we get back on 97.3 The Fan.
Matt Skraby, Chris Ello doing the game. My camera is once again
cattywampus
doing its own thing, as it typically does from time to time.
You know, these cameras are great. I love them. But sometimes they just have a mind of their own.
For it to have AI technology in it,
But then I would come in here and he's going to be like, you have to wave at it.
Right,
and
but I'm saying, like, we wave.
Work.
If you see me leaving the room, camera, stop following. I walk out the door. I feel like it should be smart enough to do that at this point.
But, Tony, my AI says to follow
you.
you.
It's clearly not. All right. Tyler Wade remains a Padre. He came to an agreement. He was one of the 8 players that was up for arbitration and to be tendered a contract. No news is good news. I would say that we haven't heard that such and such has been non-tendered. Now, to be fair, we haven't heard anybody. Have we heard anybody being non-tendered at all today, even though the deadline is here?
Sorry, say that one more time.
You clearly weren't paying attention to me at all. I said, have we got any news on anybody being non-tendered around baseball today?
Oh, yes, we did. Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, yes. Who was that? That
Jordan
was
Romano.
Jordan Romano, the closer. So he'll be available. Everybody else to this point, no big names released. I feel like we would definitely know by now.
Here, let me go and update real quick on what is happening out there because
that makes sense, by the way, because as we know, the closer market is you're not trading for closers and getting a lot back, so it may not have been worth tendering him a contract and then not being able to actually move him afterwards.
The Yankees reached an agreement with Trent Grisham for
$5
million.
Yep.
The Dodgers and right-hander Tony Gonsolin have agreed to $5.4 million.
By the way, that's one of the arms that didn't pitch for most part last season. He'll be back.
Other than that, it's been
pretty quiet.
Dane Dunning. The only reason I know him is because he's on the
Texas,
Rangers.
Yes.
He has an agreement with the Rangers. 1-year deal, $2.6 million. Dustin May, actually, here's another one, settled at
another guy who
2.135,
who missed all of last year.
Yeah, basically those are the biggest names that affect the Padres.
So at this point, no non-tender news is good news for San Diego fans because everybody who's up for arbitration are guys that I would think the Padres want to hang on to. So that's where we are there.
Oh, now, Jonathan India, acquired by the Royals.
Traded to the Royals for Brady Singer.
Yeah, and then Joey Weimer is also going to the Royals.
Former Brewer, also goes to the Royals. Now, in the break, Skraby uncovered Another Jason Kelce incident. Now, I didn't hear anything about this until you just put it on my radar, but apparently another wacko fan is stalking Jason Kelce, and is basically berating him because Kelce is either ignoring him at the time or just not signing for him.
Well, I'm going to play this video. It's already bleeped, but it has terrible language. This guy was waiting outside of Jimmy Kimmel Live. I think there's one person that I cannot stand more than any person, and it's the over-the-top aggressive autograph seeker. Like, I get it. You want to collect autographs, that's fine. But when you're insulting people because they're not signing your autographs, you've crossed the line. But here is this guy after Jason Kelce left Jimmy Kimmel last night.
That guy that thinks he's on some pedestal. Don't be a I'm not trying to get upset. I have a habit of not signing for people that follow where I'm going. We're here and we're not following you. We get every guest that comes here. Morgan Freeman did it with a fucking hand.
Okay, so that's all I need to play.
What?
Okay. You know what happened, Tony? Jason Kelce went over to this gentleman
and signed his autograph? I quit, man. I quit.
You quit?
I quit.
You quit. He signed his autograph. He said
I can't believe he was actually trying to give this dude an explanation.
He was, yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes me like Jason Kelce even more, but there's no way on God's green earth that I would have ever, or my father, for that matter, would have ever signed for someone who is talking crazy. Let me stop. Did Jason Kelce do something to him?
No.
That set him off?
He just said he wouldn't sign.
Why is he yelling?
He explained his thing. We don't sign people that follow us out of something, which makes total sense to me. He was also behind a bunch of fences.
That's infuriating, man, to hear somebody talking to a dude that is, I mean, by all indications, just a good dude. Didn't want to sign. I'm sure Jason Kelce signs more than his fair share of autographs.
I'm sure he does too.
And so the fact that he didn't want to sign coming out of Jimmy Kimmel, and this guy is yelling at the top of it. Now, Jason Kelce would have been, we would have been judging him if he would have walked over there and served this dude up verbally. We would have felt some type of way. But this guy can talk just all kinds of crazy, disrespectful, because he feels entitled to an autograph.
Adam Paul says, I collect autographs. I would never do this. I would hope people listening right now aren't doing this. And Jason Kelce, some people are surmising that because of his bad incident a couple weeks ago,
which wasn't his fault either,
at the ground.
You know how many people like secretly or publicly applauded that? Like, there's been many times.
I applauded
many times where
maybe not what he said after, but I applaud the actual act of throwing the phone on the ground.
Oh, like, I can't do anything to you personally,
but I'm going to do something
without
to your phone.
My pockets getting touched. But I'm gonna get you somehow.
And he did.
You know, it would have been better if he'd have like broke the just ripped it in his hand and then threw it.
Yes, that would have been great. That would have been like WWE or something like that. But Jason Kelce, I think that he did this because he wants to be a good guy, and he is a good guy.
This is where I believe social media comes into play, right?
Yes,
because
lots of cameras around.
He has to be on it. He is active on that, and there's got to be an element of him that doesn't want to see it replayed again, him losing it. All of that's riddled through his mind as he's approaching this, because the human being / football player in him probably wants to do one of them offensive lineman quick hand moves to his chest.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure that's what he really wants to do, but he's calculating all that in his head. And you know what? He was the bigger man. I give him a ton of credit. I don't know if I could have handled somebody yelling at me and I hadn't done anything, and let alone get an autograph from him at that point.
Well, he came over, and the guy, you know what? The guy was so happy at the end. And it was so everything he said literally 90 seconds before he got his autograph signed apparently meant nothing, because he was so happy that he did it, and he was congratulating him. And
I wouldn't have been able to take the congratulations. I mean, man, just don't talk to me. I'm signing this autograph. just keep all your comments to yourself. I don't want any positivity from you at this point because I want to punch you in your face.
You know what's crazy is that Jason and Travis Kelce are very famous. But once they got involved in the Taylor Swift famous, like they hit a new level of famous that not even they understood. And
you think this is some of that's connected to that?
It's just connected because the Kelceys are maybe. I think that could be part of it. But this guy seems like an autograph troll anyway. But if someone's screaming F words at me,
seeker and a troll, they're like total opposites. You can't troll the person that you're trying to get an autograph and expect to get one. And get one most time. You got lucky. Jason Kelce was very thoughtful and did a good job of slowing that down right there.
He diffused. But
God bless his heart.
I don't know that I could do that.
Not very. I'm pretty sure most of the people listening to our show right now, if they were in those shoes, would not have been able to first address him in a way where I'm giving him an explanation for why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're giving away your plan, bro.
B, actually sign the autograph in the end. That's the mind-blowing part.
We have a question from Doozer Chris 619.
What's up, Doozer Chris 619?
How did Big Tony handle these guys? I know you kind of talked about it.
I think it's important to remember my dad also was playing in a different era. I mean, there were some unruly fans, but I can't think of nothing close to that right there. Unless it was like a heckle during the game. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's saved for when you're playing right field and they're in the stands and they're trying to get under your skin. Not when you're trying to get an autograph or somebody.
I still don't even think that's right.
Most people went out of their way to try to say the most polite things possible so that they could get that autograph.
Yeah.
This guy took the opposite route and it worked for him.
He's an older maybe in his 50s, 60s.
That ain't old enough.
No, that's too old.
That's
too old to be acting like this. It's like that guy when the Padres were, I think, two All-Star games ago when he was knocking over kids.
My dad was notorious for making you work for it. Like, if you didn't say please, he definitely would check you about that. If you came out and just handed him something, he would definitely check you about that.
I love that.
If you gave him a L.A. Dodger hat to sign, he probably wouldn't sign it. He'd offer to sign something else. I mean, my dad, depending on his mood, would make you work for it.
I've actually seen you have people come up to us and they just put down cards on the table and hand you a Sharpie or try to hand you a Sharpie and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
I don't sign 10 cards.
I just want you to just be polite. I mean, that's how I'm gonna address you, even if I don't want something from you. I just think we're in 2024. We see it more often than not. It is just a different. It's just a different energy now between fan and athlete.
It's very weird. A couple more things from the chat. Jacob says, Tony and Skraby, thank you very much for signing my Padres flag. I do remember signing Jacob's Padres flag. I have no problem signing. If you don't cuss me out, I'll sign your stuff.
Right.
I mean,
just
no one asked me to sign stuff either except for Jacob.
That's the thing. Just don't cuss me out. It's probably be all good.
Next one was, M. McKee, does Tony get annoyed with people saying hi to him at the ballpark while he's getting food before the game? Because that's when I always see him.
Check. That's usually true. You're going to see me getting food. No, I don't, because that's different for me. I mean, it's saying hi and I don't know. I'm still kind of it's still foreign to me in some ways that people want to say hello to me. You know what I'm saying? My career certainly wasn't what my dad's was. So it's still, in some ways, it's not completely foreign, but in some ways it's still like, I still consider that like an honor, you know, that people care enough to want to stop me and say hello. So I don't look at it that way. But that being said, I certainly wouldn't take somebody like talking to me crazy like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't stop and say hello or something along those lines.
I promised it would be it. Last thing I saw someone say, what if we yell first time playa? I've had people yell that at me. And it's great because that I know for fact
that just means
there's only one place that came
right.
from.
It means you're listening to the show, which is another thing that is still mind blowing to me. That as many people bring up something that has to do with the show on a daily basis during the season, is still mind blowing.
I do love that.
It means a lot of you guys are listening. We are very appreciative of that. All right,
we are.
Let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. Here's a little traffic.
From the
o'clock, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. We have a countdown. We haven't really talked about it much today. We pushed it to 5:40. Skraby, tell us your inspiration behind. I'm sorry, from the corner of my from the corner of my eye, they're showing Judge's 60 whatever homer.
Oh yeah,
and I kind of caught the clip like from the corner of my eye, and I see the guy jump out of the stands over the wall to catch it.
Like what?
It just caught me off guard.
Is this happening right now?
Just caught me off guard. Your inspiration for the countdown. This was Skraby's inspiration, by the way. He's usually trying to get us to help him with different things. He came up with this one on his own because he was inspired.
I have a non-tender candidate after for the Padres.
Since we're taking care of business, the 5 o'clock football hours presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, where B-Dubs is football. Visit Buffalo Wild Wings every Friday for half-price apps and $2 off all tall drafts.
The inspiration was I was looking at I was on YouTube just watching a bunch of NFL clips, and I came about top 10 catches in 2023, and I was watching those, and it was either 2023 or 2022. Devontae Adams made a catch where he was basically horizontal to the ground as he was making the catch out of bounds. Like his feet were still in, he was falling out. So I thought, and we did this, we kind of explained it in 20 minutes, but we're on the golf course. I go, guys, I got a great countdown topic. Top 5 toe tappers in the NFL right now. Chris was like,
I was
what's
immediately
a toe
on
tapper?
board, and then Chris, he started to panic because as he tried to run through his Rolodex, he couldn't find 5, I think, in his mind. And so he was being quite difficult.
Yes, he made this topic a little difficult.
So
but I think
remember,
it's a
we
good
went
one.
and played last Friday.
Yes, 1 week
And
ago.
so
he had a week to think about it.
He was, and so as you hear, he ended up settling a little different than Skraby and I, but
you know what I do?
Toe
love about
draggers.
Toe drag swag, something like that.
Right.
You know what I love about Chris is that countdown topic specifically. When he has a list in mind, he's going to. That's the countdown day.
We're going.
Doesn't matter if you two have anything in it, because like some of them, I don't really know where to go with his. But he has 5 and he's confident.
Yeah, listen. When that does happen, I'm not afraid to whip open the computer and just kind of go off of that. Chris is so authentic with his that it really troubles him if he can't come up with 5 on his own. And
so, you know what I love? Yeah.
So if he can't come up with 5 on his own, he's not really feeling the topic.
You know what I love about what Kyle Glazer said during his interview yesterday with Chris, when Chris asked him to give some comps for DeVries and Ethan Salas, and then Kyle Glazer said, well, I don't normally like to comp guys that are so young. And it was such a great response because Chris does that all the time. And I could see it in his face, like he thought this was going to be a home run question. And Kyle Glazer, stiff-armed him. And I was like, finally, someone has put Chris in a position that I'm always in.
Poor Chris, not even here to defend himself right now.
Yes.
What else you got, son?
What else you got, son? Ohio State playing Michigan, I think, next week.
Big
point spread against Michigan, which they're huge, bitter rivals. And usually it's a pretty close game. But Ohio State, it's the biggest point spread since 1978, and that would be Ohio State is a 23.5-point favorite over Michigan. Michigan went all in for this national championship last year. And I don't really understand why they're so bad because some of those guys are still on the team, but they have not been great this year.
It goes to show you that, first they had a lot of seniors depart, some juniors, and they lost probably the most important piece, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
He goes to the Chargers. You see what the Chargers are doing this year. And so he's clearly made a difference, 7-3. It's been a long time since the Chargers were 7-3.
I hate that they're good. I hate that they're good, and I hate that they're not Chargery good,
They're right? They're not blowing games late. Although I thought when that Bengals game was, I was like, oh, here it comes.
And it didn't happen.
And it
hasn't happened.
And that was kind of the first sign. Man.
Justin Herbert has found his guy. It's just...
I tell you what, you guys know, I never quite gave up full fanatic. From the Chargers for myself. I still watch
took a
them.
step back.
I did. I don't like not like dying over their wins and losses anymore. But it's the only team I ever rooted for, so I can't stay mad that long. I mean, for those of y'all that's been able to keep it up, I ain't mad at you. But
I'm gonna be.
I can't.
Yeah, I'm gonna be sad on Monday though, because 49ers are playing in Green Bay. I believe it was snowing in Green Bay, but they're going to be without two of their best players. 49ers are going to be missing Brock Purdy.
Well,
this
they
is all
pretty
for
much
you
were out
fantasy.
one of those best players last week when they won. He didn't play that much.
No, Nick Bosa
He
didn't
was
play
out
in the
pretty
second
much
half.
the first. Yeah,
And look
and
what
he was
happened.
terrible in the first half because he looked like he was hurting. Every
And
time.
Geno Smith ran all over them, which Geno Smith doesn't run on anyone.
Shout out to the Seahawks, second place in that division right now,
annoying.
behind the Arizona Cardinals. Who would have thunk it?
I wouldn't have thunk it, but they still have time. Chris keeps whispering and texting 5 and 7 because they're going to lose to. He thinks they're going to lose to the Pack. They're going to lose to the Bills next week. Which, if we're being honest, they're going to lose to the Bills. It's on the road. The Bills coming out of a bye week.
The Bills, they still got stuff to prove on there. I know everybody's so in love with them because they got rid of their really good wide receiver, and Josh Allen seems to be thriving, but. As I said to Greg earlier, this much like the Ravens, much like the Lions, much like Buffalo's in that category, Steelers are in that category. They got it. It's about once you get to the playoffs. I think all 4 of those teams, 5 of those teams are shoo-ins for the playoffs. I don't think anybody's ever doubted that. Maybe Pittsburgh, you doubt it. But at the end of the day, especially for the Ravens, the Bills, and the Lions, no one really cares what you're doing in the regular season. It's what you do come postseason. And, no one will be more under that microscope than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who hasn't been able to quite get it done in the playoffs.
And the Lions.
And the Lions. And
they're going to be the hunted. I'm telling you, it's going to be a whole different vibe for them.
Could you stop saying that? They're not the hunted.
They are the hunted.
I think they're not because they are the Lions. I think if there's anybody else, they would be the hunted. But I think in every back of everyone's mind, they're still the Lions, even though they're the best team in football right now.
My non-tender question for you.
Oh, it's a question for me.
It's a question because the Rockies have non-tendered Cal Quantrill.
Okay.
He's a free agent now.
Free agent.
Is that someone the Padres could be back in on? I know that they traded him away at one point, so maybe they don't think good things about him, but...
you could never have enough arms.
Yeah.
Again, you got the wild card, Ruben.
Yeah, he started 29 games last year for the Rockies.
In Colorado.
4.98 ERA, but in Colorado.
His probably most famous start came was it in Colorado or was it in Boston? It was in Colorado.
I think,
against Boston.
Yes, against when he started yelling at that catcher.
Yeah, he was quite upset for some extracurricular activities that had taken place years before. He had a long memory that he had nothing to do with, by the way.
And no one even remembered until he just started yelling, which I like about him. He's a crazy person.
He is a crazy person. You need a few. I'm telling you need a few of those on your team.
Yes.
Because when push comes to shove, the crazy folks are the ones that are going to stand out the most.
I will be behind them in line as they're fighting in front of me.
All right, so quick news for the Padres. As I mentioned, Tyler Wade agreed to a contract for the 2025 season with a club option for 26.
Oh, okay.
Non-tendered for the Padres.
Hold on, let me brace myself.
Logan Gillespie.
Okay.
Luis Patino, who I predicted would be the one. Bryce Johnson and Mason McCoy.
Okay.
All 3 out of the 4 dudes were contributors on that team last year.
Mason McCoy had some good
Mason
defensive
McCoy
moments for them.
Remember when Kim initially went down, it was Mason McCoy that filled the shortstop spot. And he did all right for a little bit.
Yeah.
Bryce Johnson filled in at times, and Logan Gillespie filled in at times and did well. So those are the 4 guys that the Padres decided to non-tender. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, the countdown, top 5 toe tap. What'd you call it? No, toe drag swag.
Toe drag swag.
Toe drag swaggers for the wide receiver position. More Gwynn and Chris.
Ben and Wood.
Stupid camera. Last segment of the day. Countdown headed your way here shortly. Tony Gwynn Jr. Matt Skraby, 237. Thank God. 5:37 on the clock.
Man, I can't do another 5 hours.
Skraby Chronicles up next. Skraby, what you got on deck for the show today?
That's a great question.
Sounds like he doesn't know, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I have my daily gripe, obviously. I want to talk about Daniel Jones a little bit. I feel like the New York Giants failed him. But everything's going to work out for him. I'll talk about that. Also, the tender, non-tender stuff we'll go over. Plus, the have you seen this? I don't know how to explain it, I guess. Jaguar, the company, Jaguar has a new logo, and everybody is making fun of it.
Oh, Jaguar. They this is like their second makeover in like the last. I know. I feel like they had one when I was in school, like in college.
Because not many people are buying Jaguar anymore.
Well,
Jaguar.
I do remember like their engines like exploding and like going out. So yeah, I'm sure people kind of feel a little different about it. Do you have a picture of the logo? That's why I got up, because I thought you had a picture of it.
I see. Yes, it's very, very... People are just making fun of it because it's so simple. There it was, Tony. This is their new logo.
Oh, it's not even like a cat anywhere. It's just Jaguar.
Just letters. And it's very boring.
Super boring.
And the commercial that they released has nothing in it other than people. There's no cars. They're like on Mars. And so Elon Musk, I have to say, was pretty funny. He replied, "Do you guys even make cars?"
That is
Which I'm not a fan of his, but I thought that was hilarious. I should say this. Happy second birthday to my little niece, Lydia. She's having her birthday party tomorrow. And I am very excited to, be there for her. She finally is getting to the point where she's okay with me. She didn't know about me for a long time.
It took all of us a little time to be okay with you. I mean, I kind of feel her on that.
We were talking about someone, and Greg said, this person's kind of odd, just like you, Skraby. I'm like, all right. But yeah, happy birthday to your old Lydia.
Happy birthday, Lydia. Before I send us to the countdown, I had a thought today. Does it just me, or does it seem like everybody is trying to force Deion Sanders into the NFL but Deion Sanders?
A lot of people want him to, yes.
I feel like he said no like a bunch of times, and more people keep saying, he's going to the NFL.
I guess maybe they just know that
that's how these things usually work out.
It's enticing to someone once they start giving you money. But I do believe Deion's a superstar. He doesn't need to go back to the NFL if he doesn't want to.
No, I don't.
It's not the natural progression for him.
I don't know that him and Jerry Jones would work that great together, even though they've had a great relationship to this point.
I know you guys talked about him coaching Shador in the NFL.
I haven't talked about it.
Okay, well, people have. When is it time for Deion to let go?
I think that's his intention.
Okay, good.
It's to let his son go.
Because that would be strange to have him coach him every step of the way.
There's a lot of parents out there, if they could, and it was lucrative enough, they would follow their kid around everywhere.
That's not best for a kid,
Yeah,
though.
maybe not. Maybe we should ask Shador how he feels about it. All right.
I think Shador's fine.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, let's get to our countdown. Top 5 toe drag swag.
From the 7-3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Okay, you guys have had 3 full weeks of practicing driving home in the dark, and some of you just aren't getting it. Southbound side of the 805, an accident past La Jolla Village Drive. Got that over to the right shoulder. Also, traveling on southbound 5 before Coronado Avenue, there's a collision involving a couple vehicles. They're over to the right shoulder, but watch out for some debris across lanes. Eastbound 905 at Siempre Viva, collision over to the right shoulder. Also getting reports of a crash in the North County westbound side of the 78 past Nordal Road. Those vehicles are in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's now time for Gwynn and Chris to rank their top 5 of the day.
Gonna grip and rip as usual.
But this isn't just a regular top 5 list.
I love it. It sounds sadistic, but I love it.
This is the countdown. And it starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we've had a lot of controversy about today's countdown. Most of the controversy has been in trying to actually nail down exactly what it is we want the subject to be.
Yes.
And so, just a tad of a backstory before we get into it. And, of course, every week we count down something, normally in the world of sports. Today we are in the world of sports for sure. But Skraby saw, remind me who it was, Skraby, who made the catch that gave you this idea.
Well, it was, okay, so I was lost in a YouTube hole, and I was watching a top 10 catches of the 2023 season, and so I thought about this.
Okay, and somebody made a catch near the sideline.
I think it was Davante Adams, honestly.
Okay, Davante Adams. And you saw that, and you thought, boy, this is a great category.
Yes.
Let's do the top 5 toe tappers in the National Football League.
And when I told you guys this,
we both
and a toe tapper would be somebody that can make a catch near the sidelines, tap their toes down, and stay in bounds.
Yes.
And so that was how this was born. The only problem I personally had was trying to actually think of 5 guys that are really especially good at toe
you can roll a
tapping.
dice and put them on your list.
Well, I could, but I like to do my list based on something that I perceive to be.
Everybody know that Chris has been difficult about this subject. This is where we're going with this.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it. So I kind of brought up, maybe we should just do 5 guys who make the best catches or the greatest catches or something. I think both you and Tony said, okay, kind of. But then right before we went to do this segment, Skraby goes, all right, we're doing toe tapping, right? And Tony goes, we're doing toe tapping, right? And I'm like, no, I didn't do toe tapping. So that's the controversy we have.
So we've changed it to top 5 NFL wide receivers who catch great passes near the sideline.
I'm going with toe tappers.
Okay.
Tony wants toe tappers. And Skraby, you originated toe tappers.
Yes.
All I will say is my 5 guys all, in my estimation, make great catches. And I assume they can make them near the sidelines if need be.
Okay, so. we'll be the judge of that as we go along.
All right, so that's what I'm going to do.
On the NFL Network, they do something called toe drag swag.
Ah, yeah.
And so I thought, anyway, let's go into it.
It really is more of a toe draggers versus tappers.
Yeah, I mean, because you can go deep.
That hurts your toes when you're tapping a little too hard in that cold weather like last night.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of want to drag.
Do you think the players go beep?
I don't know if they make that sound effect. No. I don't think they
if
make
only people could see my feet.
I don't think they make that sound effect at all when they make the catch.
I wish people could see my feet because I do my feet tapping the ground real quick. My number 5 is...
Trying to pretend like you're wearing ballet shoes.
My number 5 is someone who's returning from injury this week. He makes amazing catches. Mike Evans. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver. Doesn't matter if it's a 50-50 ball. He'll come down with it inbounds. He'll have it one-handed. He'll grab it out of the air. He'll lay out horizontally on the sideline to catch a pass. Mike Evans is fun to watch, and that's my number 5. Tony?
My number 5 toe dragger is a tough son of a gun. Amon-Ra St. Brown. This guy is... I think on the sideline as good as it gets. And he doesn't have the length that Evans has or Davante Adams. So he's a smaller dude, but he drags that toe as well as anybody. Number 5, Mr. St. Brown, excuse me.
Yes. Chris?
All right, my number 5 is, and again, my list is, I took out great athleticism because there's a lot of receivers in the NFL who can run amazingly fast and are always open, but I didn't include those. I included guys that I feel make tough catches in traffic. So my number 5 guy is Terry McLaurin of the Commanders.
Yeah.
I've watched this guy for so long, and he's never plays with a good quarterback, really until this year. But if the ball is anywhere in his direction, it seems like he always comes down with it. On the sideline in the middle of the field, I think Terry McLaurin's one of the, and he's underrated by a mile because no one ever talks about him, but I think McLaurin's one of my favorite receivers to watch.
Yes, he was just barely cut from my list, Terry McLaurin.
Oh, really?
Number 4.
My number 4 went for, it was a couple different people, but I'm going to land on Eagles wide receiver Devontae Smith.
Oh.
He's like Gumby a little bit. He can bend in any way that he needs to find that ball and catch it. Slight of build. People weren't sure if he was going to be good in the NFL because he was so small, but he's using his stature to catch passes that no one else can catch. So I say Devontae Smith, Tony.
Very good.
Where are we at?
4.
Number 4. I just lost mines here. Oh, here we go. Number 4. Amazing pass catcher in general, but one of the best on the sideline, and that's Cooper Kupp. Another little guy, can drag his feet. He's not one of those guys that they have to run the replay back because he didn't actually get his foot down. He's usually, they got to run it back because they initially ruled it incomplete. They go back and look, and that toe is dragging across the turf for a first down.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Chris?
He's awesome. I wanted to get one tight end into my pass catchers. And my first thought was obviously Travis Kelce. And then I thought, Travis Kelce's pretty much always open, and he's also got Patrick Mahomes, so he has an advantage. I went for this guy, and I've noticed it this year watching him because he is on my fantasy team, but I never realized how good he was. And that is this Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals.
Very athletic.
Look at some of the catches this guy has made this year. Kyler Murray, I think, just throws it up hoping.
Yeah.
And this guy comes down with it in traffic, on the sidelines, 2 defenders, whatever it is. I've seen him make some incredible catches that I thought there was no chance he had. So Trey McBride makes my list as number 4.
That's a really good one. He's incredibly athletic. He's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body. He's kind of like Brock Bowers a little bit.
Number 3.
My number 3 is someone who played last night, didn't have as many catches, but George Pickens. That guy is the inventor of the double toe tap with the same foot.
Yeah.
If anybody can tap their toe twice while falling to the ground, you are going to make my list.
They need to change that
rule
rule too, by the way.
They're going to have to clarify.
They got
it.
it. They got to. 2 feet should be
Yeah.
the same as a knee, as 2 different feet.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. George Pickens makes amazing catches. He might be the only player in the league is must watch because you have no idea what's going to happen. Whether he's gonna go start fighting some player in the back of the end zone, or he's gonna make a great catch.
He also is a tough catch maker too. Like he doesn't
contested
he
catch
can
guy.
go get the tough ones, the contested ones for sure. All right, number 3 on my might still be, even though he is not the same wide receiver he was, might still be the best toe dragger, tough catcher in NFL, and that's D-Hop. Anything that touches his hands is likely going to stick.
Mr. 99.
Mr. 99 himself is number 3 on my list. Not the same deep threat or just, number 1 wideout that he once was, but as you can see, the Chiefs, when Mahomes needs a first down, that's typically who he's been looking for, and he's been able to come up with some catch.
The ball
Can still catch it.
anywhere. Do you remember when Chris had a really
he
hard
was very
time
upset with the 99 for
when
D-Hop.
DeAndre Hopkins was 99?
I think he was upset with 99s in general. I think D-Hop
yeah.
was just the first one that popped up.
Yes, I think in our show history. I'll never forget our first, guys. Chris, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Cooper Kupp. Tony mentioned him already. I think he's the best hands in the game. Just flat out hands. And Tony's right. He can reach outside the sideline, and the ball will stick to one hand, and then he'll bring it into his body as he's getting both feet down. and staying in bounds. And the kind of catches he makes, I just think are insane. And he doesn't look nearly athletic as a lot of these guys he's playing with, but he is that athletic to make just incredible catches out there. I've never seen one in his area that has fallen to the ground.
And he's not afraid to go over the middle.
No, he'll go anywhere.
Yeah, he will. All right.
Number 2.
I left Cooper Kupp off the list. I couldn't put a Ram on there.
Yeah.
My number 2.
That's why your list is always a little bit has to go with an asterisk.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't think of Cooper Kupp. I think of Cooper Kupp as a great wide receiver. I don't put him in like Mike Evans range. But anyway, you guys, it's your list. My number 2, Jamar Chase, Bengals wide receiver. I know you guys give me a hard time because I said he's done nothing this year and he's had 12 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards so far. But this guy can catch anything that is thrown to him. He can locate the ball anywhere in the sky. If you're going to throw it up to someone on the Bengals, it's going to be him because he'll come down with it. So Jamar Chase. Tony, you're number 2?
Jamar Chase is also number 2. This dude is, ever since he's been in the league, he has been that
Except
guy.
for that preseason where he was dropping everything and everybody was worried, but that
just
had
goes to
no
show
effect.
you, I forgot about that. I don't remember that at all. He's not only come out here and been the best wide receiver, one of the best this year, but he is underpaid and playing very angry. And I hope he has made himself so much money that he is fortunate enough to get the hell out of Cincinnati.
Chris, you're number 2?
Jamar Chase is not my number 2. I did consider him obviously for this list because he's the top receiver in the league, but I didn't put him on my list because he's always too open as far as I'm concerned. I don't see him having to make as many difficult catches as some of these other guys because he's just so open. It's ridiculous. So he kind of eliminated him from my list because he's so good. My number 2, I think this guy makes the greatest catches in the game right now, and that's Justin Jefferson of the Vikings. All you have to do is go back to that one Buffalo game a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
When it was 4th and 20, and he went up between 5 guys, and somehow the ball found his hands, and he stayed with it. Justin Jefferson almost every time comes down with it. So I think he's the best tough catch guy in the league, or at least number 2 for this list.
He did not make my list, and I feel weird about it, to be honest. I do. But Chris just said something that I forgot about. That was a pretty amazing catch. I think their season was basically on the line as well.
Yeah.
So
Number 1.
My number 1, I think this guy has the greatest catch of this season, and maybe the greatest catch I've seen in a little bit. Garrett Wilson of the Jets. He's Gumby. He really is. He will bend to any shape that he needs to get the ball into his hands. And against the Texans a few weeks ago, when he made that one-handed catch when he was going out of the back of the end zone and he got his shin down to make it a complete catch and a touchdown, that was one of the better catches I think I've ever seen. And I even think it's better than the Odell catch in the very same stadium when he was falling backwards as a rookie on the Giants. So Garrett Wilson, number 1. Tony?
You know what? I need to go back and make an omission. I left Garrett Wilson out. He probably should have been like 4 on my list or 5. Yeah, he's one of the better catchers as well. I just tried to mix in some of the guys who've been in the league as well.
No, I like this. We have different players.
Number 1 on my list is Justin Jefferson. I don't think there's a better pass catcher, tough catcher, toe dragger, whatever you want to call it. JJ Jettus, as he calls himself. I think he's the number 1 receiver when it comes to all of it.
Chris?
I'll say one thing for JJ. He sure has helped Kirk Cousins make a lot of money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My number 1, the only guy I could think to remotely and kind of beat out Justin Jefferson is a guy Tony already mentioned. I think the number 1 receiver in all of football, with all of the attributes taken into consideration, is Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Lions, along with his ability to get open, his speed, his amazing catch ability. He's also the strongest, toughest son of a gun in the entire league. And that might be at any position, thanks to the fact his dad was Mr.
I was going to say, his dad made him that way.
If you've ever listened to his dad on his podcast, you understand, for sure.
And he's probably been working out since he's 1 year old. But this guy, I just think he's indestructible almost out there. And so I gave him the nod over Justin Jefferson.
All right. Very, very good list, guys. That ended up being Successful countdown, I believe.
Of course, they always are successful.
They always are, even when we do top 5 countdowns on our top 5 countdowns. So
that was a doozy.
That
right
was
there.
a doozy.
Great countdown there for the group. 5 o'clock football hours presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, where B-Dubs is football. Visit Buffalo Wild Wings every Friday for half-price apps and $2 off all tall drafts. I do it that slow because I bungle tall drafts, $2 tall drafts, doing it too fast.
Yeah,
so
there's too many T's.
It's a lot of T's, all right, that's going to do it for this week's shows. We'll be back at it again Monday. All 3 in the building. The Skraby Chronicles up next. Have a good weekend.